Chapter 151. Meeting. In the Mizuki's office, CG was sitting at the Mizuki's desk, handling government affairs under the guidance of the third Mizuki Bing beside him. At this time, King C had taken off his mask and began to show his true face. He had learned from Jian that an unknown person had broken into the archive room and cracked the barrier some time ago. After King C knew this, he immediately locked the murderer on the dark guy. It was not known whether Black Zetsu was too confident and did not think anyone could track him down, or whether he retreated too hastily and did not have time to erase his own aura. In any case, King C sensed the familiar aura of yin-yang escape from the corpse of the ninja possessed and controlled by Black Zetsu. Therefore, Kyoji soon realized that Black Zetsu was investigating his identity. In addition, he would succeed the fourth Mizuki in the near future, so Kyoji no longer cared about the exposure of his identity. His current strength had increased after the battle with Uchiha Madara, which made him capable of facing everything. Lord Mizuki. Lord CG. The Zigwashin puffer demon appeared in an instant and spoke respectfully. Today he was on duty in the Mizuki building. Bing and King C raised their heads and looked at the Zigwashin puffer ghost together. Anbu report, a ninja from the Kagaya clan stopped an Anbu ninja near the Mizuki building. He said he wanted to meet Lord Mizuki. Lord Ken has confirmed the other party's identity. He is Kagaya Kaze, the third elder of the Kagaya clan. He has now been taken to the Anbu headquarters by Lord Ken. Zigwashin Puffer Ghost told the story. Kagaya was very cautious. Not only did he use transformation techniques to change his image, but in order to prevent the news from leaking out, he did not go directly into the Mizuki building to meet the third Mizuki Bing. Instead, he took a detour and chose to deliver the message through the Anbu. Oh! Bing was a little confused. He didn't know what the Hyuga clan, who had already fallen out with Kirigakure, specifically asked to see him, and the one who was sent out was an elder. Xiao Kingxi, let's go and take a look together. Bing suddenly became interested. Soon, Bing and Kingxi arrived at the Anbu headquarters and met the third elder from the Kagaya clan. When Kagaya saw CG no longer wearing a mask, his pupils shrank slightly, and then his eyes lit up instantly, and he recognized Seiji's identity. As the captain of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Seiji's name is now known throughout the Hidden Mist village, and it is also known to some extent in the Kagaya clan. However, because Seiji had been wearing a mask before, and he did not know that Seiji had used the corpse vein in battle, Kagaya did not think of the younger brother of the 6th elder. But when he saw Kingxi's face under the mask today, he instantly connected everything together. As the only remaining descendant of the 3rd elder's lineage, he certainly knew about the 6th elder's lineage that had now disappeared within the Kagaya clan. Lord Mizuki. Kagaya Feng looked at Bing, a little hesitant. Although he believed that what he was doing was to save the Kagaya clan, his actions were after all a betrayal of the clan. Although he had strengthened his beliefs, when the moment came, he still hesitated to speak. Bing looked at the young 3rd elder of the Kagaya clan. He felt that the man in front of him was different from most of the Kagaya clan members. His calm eyes were very similar to those of Kagaya Genji back then, and somewhat like those of CG now. The Kagaya clan is preparing to launch a coup. Kagaya Feng finally said it. The third Mizuki Bing was a little surprised when he heard this, and Kingxi, who was standing beside him, couldn't help but flicker his eyes, and his heart was moved. Oh my god, isn't this just asking for trouble? The situation of the Kagaya clan seems to be worse than I expected. Bing sighed in his heart. He knew that since the Kagaya clan and the Hidden Mist village had a falling out, big problems would arise sooner or later under the leadership of the ambitious Kagaya Musashi, but he did not expect that they would break out at this point in time. His third Mizuki Bing is still here. Tell me in detail. Kingxi asked. He had long wanted to kill Kagaya Musashi for revenge, but there had never been a suitable opportunity before. Now that Kagaya Musashi had taken the initiative to offer him the chance, he would of course use this opportunity to resolve his emotional issues. Kagaya looked at the third Mizuki Bing. Although he recognized CG and knew his current identity in the Hidden Mist village, the Mizuki was still there. Of course, he had to confirm Bing's reaction first. Seeing that Bing did not object, Kagaya felt relieved immediately. So Kagaya Feng began to tell what he knew about Kagaya Musashi and the various preparations that the Kagaya clan had made. After listening to this, Bing thought about it, turned to Kingxi and said, "Then I'll leave this matter to you." Kingxi nodded without hesitation. He had no choice but to take the lead in this matter. He had to settle the accounts with his cheap uncle Kagaya Musashi. River Country, the frontline battlefield between Konoha and Tsunagakure. On the third day after the Konoha surprise attack force led by Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade was defeated by Hanzo, the Sand Village also took the initiative to launch a war against Konoha. The commanders of the Tsunagakure side are still Imu and Otsutsuki. Ever since they were defeated by Hatake Sakumo last time, the two have been obsessed with Hatake Sakumo. When they found out that Konoha was led by Hatake Sakumo, Imu immediately applied to Cho and took his wife Otsutsuki to the battlefield, becoming the commander on the front line, facing off against Hatake Sakumo, preparing to fight him again. When he learned from Cho that Hanzo had taken the initiative to pass on the news to the Sand Village, he immediately requested the village to send more elite ninjas. He decided to lead all the Sand Village ninjas to bypass the front battlefield and raid Konoha's camp from the side, and have a decisive battle directly with Konoha in an attempt to kill Hatake Sakumo. On the other hand, there are many ninjas from the Hyuga clan in Konoha, including a main ninja from the Hyuga clan, and an elite jonin from the Hyuga clan. His Byakugan has a detection range of more than 10 kilometers. Hinata Hyuga saw Amaterasu's black fire from 10 kilometers away. At that time, she was roughly a jonin. As luck would have it, when a large number of Sand Village ninjas were making a detour to raid the Konoha camp, this elite jonin from the main family named Hyuga Kumo happened to be observing with his Byakugan, so the movements of the Sand Village ninjas were seen clearly. The Sand Village, which did not have an accurate understanding of the power of the Byakugan, did not know that their sneak attack had already been discovered. They still continued to clear out Konoha's reconnaissance team under the leadership of Imu and Jun, and headed straight for the Konoha camp. Chapter 152. Upon hearing the news, Hatake Sakumo instantly understood the Sand Village's idea. Although he wanted to rescue the reconnaissance team along the way, he also knew it was too late. So he made a prompt decision and decided to take advantage of this information gap to deal a big blow to the Sand Village, which was still in the dark. Hatake Sakumo's plan was actually very simple. He used shadow clones to stay inside the camp, lure all the Tsunagakure ninjas in, and then launch a counter-ambush. So Hatake Sakumo quickly arranged his plan. The Konoha ninja had a high level of execution. In less than 10 minutes, everyone had completed the evacuation. The only things left in the camp were a large number of shadow clones and a large number of prepared detonating tags. Yumu. Lu Yu, who was on her way, suddenly turned her head and whispered to her husband, "Should we reconsider it? I have a bad feeling." "No, Jun, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We must seize it to kill the Konoha White Fang. It has been found that there are less than 1,500 ninja troops of Konoha village in River Country, and there is only one person, Hatake Sakumo, who has reached the level of Kage." Imu said fiercely, "Konoha suffered heavy losses in Rain Country and had to cease fire with the hidden Rain village. If they recover, they will definitely send reinforcements to River Country. We must take advantage of the arrival of Konoha's reinforcements and use our current superior forces to establish our advantage in River Country in one fell swoop, and strive to advance the front line to the territory of Fire Country. If we miss this opportunity, unless Lord Feng Ying comes to the battlefield in person, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to gain an advantage later." Yumu added. As a commander, Yumo has a very good overall view. Indeed, at this time, Konoha is much stronger than Sand Village in terms of high-end combat power. If Konoha had not started fighting on multiple fronts, Sand Village would never have been able to gain an advantage. The war between Konoha and Rain Village is over. If they cannot gain an advantage before the reinforcements of Konoha arrive, once Konoha sends out more Kage-level strongmen, Sand Village. Therefore, in Imu's eyes, this is the only chance for Tsunagakure to completely defeat Konoha. As long as they can kill all the Konoha ninjas in River Country and Commander Hatake Sakumo, Tsunagakure will be able to gain an advantage in the war with Konoha. Besides, the strength of the Sand Village was at its peak during this period. The quality and ability of the Sand Village ninjas were not much worse than that of Konoha. In addition, some elite ninjas mobilized from the village were almost twice the number of Konoha's side. In Imu's opinion, this was enough to encircle and annihilate all the Konoha ninjas. Okay. Jun was persuaded by Yumu, but there was still a trace of worry on her face. "Jun, after this war is over, I will apply to my mother to be transferred back to the village, and we will go back together to take care of Scorpion, okay?" Yimu saw this and comforted him softly. Hearing Yumu's words, Jun couldn't help but think of their 7-year-old son Xiet. A hint of longing flashed in her eyes. They had been away from the village for almost 2 months. He nodded at Imu, and neither of them said anything else as they were about to reach Konoha's camp. Puppet troops. Release the puppets. Let the puppets launch the first wave of attack, and then everyone will charge directly. Yumu ordered loudly, and quickly released the puppets from the scroll. At such a close distance, it would only take a few breaths to rush into Konoha's camp, and all the Konoha ninjas along the way had been killed. Yumu didn't believe that Konoha could still react, and a bloodthirsty light flashed in his eyes. Countless poisoned thousand bones, kunao, shurikens and chakra shells were fired madly from puppets of various shapes towards the Konoha camp, and the Konoha camp was immediately filled with screams and wails. But when some of the Sand Village ninjas rushed into the Konoha camp, suddenly, a loud explosion was heard, and a mushroom cloud rose slowly in the Konoha camp. The Konoha ninjas detonated all the detonating tags that had been laid in advance. But it must be said that Imu was a qualified commander. He was the first to give the puppeteer the order to use puppets for long-range attacks, which saved the lives of many Sand Village ninjas. However, despite this, the chain explosions caused by a large number of detonating tags still reduced the number of Sand Village ninjas by nearly 1/5, and many puppeteers' puppets were directly blown to pieces. Looking at his subordinates who suffered heavy casualties, Imu's eyes instantly turned red. Unexpectedly, his wife's premonition came true. Their actions had already been discovered by Konoha and an ambush was set. Yumu's heart was in great pain at this moment. These dead Sand Village ninjas were led to their doom by him. But there was no time for him to be sad anymore. The Konoha ninjas, led by Hatake Sakumo, had already killed them. Hatake Sakumo! Imu roared with gritted teeth, and with full of anger, he directly controlled the puppet to attack the rushing Hatake Sakumo. Hatake Sakumo did not respond. His eyes focused and lightning flashed all over his body. His speed increased further. He pointed the White Fang dagger in his hand straight forward and rushed towards Yumu like lightning. White Fang sword technique, flash. A flash of lightning streaked across the sky, and the puppet in front of Yumu was instantly cut into 2 pieces. Yumu's pupils contracted drastically when he saw this. This Konoha White Fang was even stronger than the last time they fought. Sakumo Hatake's idea was similar to Imu's. He also wanted to take this opportunity to defeat the Sand Village as soon as possible and end this damn war. His son Kakashi Hatake was only 2 years old. Because of the war, as a father, he basically never spent much time with Kakashi. Jun! Imu roared. With the experience of the last fight, he knew that he was no match for Hatake Sakumo, not to mention that the opponent had become stronger. Jun on the side quickly took out the scroll and released the remaining puppets. Yumu breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Jun had successfully summoned all 10 puppets. The chakra line broke away from the puppet he was originally controlling and quickly connected to the newly appeared puppet. White secret technique, 10 machine maneuvers. 2 humanoid puppets rushed forward, cooperating with each other to attack Hatake Sakumo. The left puppet's arm changed, and a giant gear rotating at high speed stretched out with the sound of a mechanism. The other puppet's arm turned into a huge mace. Dang! There was a sound of metal clashing. Hatake Sakumo raised his White Fang dagger to block the mace that was falling down, then used the force to dodge and avoid the cutting of the gears again. The other 8 puppets also surrounded them at this time. With the help of their mother Cho, Imu and Jun made great progress in using this forbidden technique compared to last time. Not only did they consume much less chakra, but the smoothness also reached a higher level. Hatake Sakumo kept dodging under the siege of the puppets, constantly looking for an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. Chapter 153. Suddenly, Hatake Sakumo seized the flaw of one of the puppets. A gleam of brilliance flashed across his eyes. Then, he seized the extremely brief gap in the attack of the puppets besieging him and slid his body strangely like a snake. Hatake Sakumo's movements were as fast as lightning, dazzling everyone. He had an explosive tag in his hand, and without hesitation, he attached it to the exposed joint of the puppet. Then, he once again demonstrated his amazing body movement skills, and like a ghost, he instantly moved behind another puppet. Hatake Sakumo held the White Fang short sword tightly in his right hand, while his left hand was raised in front of his chest. Explode! Hatake Sakumo shouted softly and directly detonated the detonating tag. Fire and smoke appeared along with the explosion. The puppet at the center of the explosion was blown to pieces. One of the 10 puppets was gone. After destroying a puppet, Hatake Sakumo suddenly felt less pressure. Even though it was only one puppet missing, the coordination between the 10 machines was not as smooth as before. Yumu and Liuyu's faces looked very unhappy. They lost an important puppet in a short period of fighting. The puppets used to perform the 10 machines exercise were specially made and could not be replaced by ordinary puppets. Therefore, they had no way to fill this gap for the time being. He used the White Fang short sword again to block the long sword that was swept across by one of the puppets. Hitaki Sakumo released his chakra, and lightning chakra continued to flow into the White Fang short sword. Amidst the flashes of lightning, Hitaki Sakumo suddenly exerted force and the long sword was directly cut off. Hitaki Sakumo once again seized a fleeting flaw, and taking advantage of the gap left by the puppet in front of him because his weapon was destroyed, Hitaki Sakumo disappeared on the spot and slashed towards another puppet. White Fang sword technique, instant slash. Another puppet was scrapped. Yumu and Liuyu were shocked, and a chill spread throughout their bodies. Hitaki Sakumo's strength improved too fast, and now the two of them couldn't hold on for long even if they joined forces. Looking around, the Sand Village Ninja and the Konoha Ninja were fighting hard, but the scales of victory never tilted towards the Sand Village Ninja. The Sand Village Ninja had lost a small number of ninjas before the fight even started, and could no longer crush the Konoha Ninjas in terms of numbers. Under the desperate efforts of the Konoha Ninjas, the Sand Village Ninjas' offensive was blocked, and the battle situation was at a stalemate for a while. June was ready to retreat. Yumu, retreat. There is no hope of victory. No. Yumu gritted his teeth and rejected it outright. He also knew that if they continued fighting like this, Sand Village would be in big trouble, but now they were in a dilemma. If they ordered a retreat, they would not be able to escape the pursuit of the Konoha White Fang who were known for their speed. Now all he could do was wait for the Sand Village Ninjas to gradually consume the manpower of the Konoha Ninjas with their numerical advantage, and then in turn assist him and June in besieging Hitaki Sakumo. However, one question he hadn't considered was whether he and June could hold out until then. Time passed slowly minute by minute, and the number of puppets controlled by Yumu and Liuyu decreased one by one. The ground was littered with the remains of puppets destroyed by Hitaki Sakumo. Hitaki Sakumo was breathing slightly. After fighting at such an intense level for such a long time, even though he was very strong, he was a little tired. At this time, there were only 4 puppets left on the field. Most of the 10 puppets in total had been smashed by Hitaki Sakumo. Imu began to get anxious. He finally realized that he might not be able to wait for the Sand Village Ninja to come to support him and he and June would be defeated. Yumu and Liuyu looked at each other. If they wanted to delay time, this was the only way. The chests of the remaining 4 puppets opened at the same time, revealing the dark launch tubes inside, and then a thick dark purple smoke spurted out from them. The signature skill of the Sand Village puppeteer, poison. Originally, Yumo had no intention of using such large-scale poisonous smoke. After all, poisonous smoke could not distinguish between friend and foe on the battlefield. But now, he could not care less. Seeing the poisonous smoke slowly spreading on the battlefield, the Sand Village and Konoha ninjas who were fighting nearby stopped their actions and began to retreat. Some ninjas who retreated slowly only inhaled a breath, but soon fell to the ground powerlessly. This is Chiyo's latest neurotoxin. It is so toxic that without an antidote, even a ninja with the strength of a cage cannot last long under the protection of chakra. Yumu and Liuyu stared at the center of the poisonous smoke. They did not see Hitaki Sakumo make any evasive movements. Wasn't he afraid of being poisoned? Suddenly, a flash of lightning split the poisonous smoke and rushed out from the poisonous smoke at an extremely fast speed. White Fang sword technique, flash. The sword light was like a river, shining the entire battlefield. The lightning chakra constantly stimulated Hitaki Sakumo's body, constantly speeding him up. Yumu and June hurriedly controlled the puppets to resist. They didn't understand. Hitaki Sakumo stayed in the poisonous smoke for such a long time. Did he want to die? Seeing the puppet blocking the path of Hitaki Sakumo's advance, Yumu and Liuyu couldn't help but feel relieved. However, who would have thought that Hitaki Sakumo's speed would increase again in an instant, and the roar of lightning chakra resounded throughout the battlefield. Hitaki Sakumo endured the pain in his body and meridians, burst out with the fastest speed he could, and rushed forward before being intercepted by the puppet. Yumu and Liuyu's faces changed drastically, but it was too late to take any action. White Fang sword technique, swallow returns. The White Fang dagger stabbed towards Yi Mu's heart. At the last moment, Yi Mu barely deviated his body and avoided the vital point, but his left arm was still cut off by the sharp White Fang dagger. Hitaki Sakumo appeared not far behind the two of them. Although he had severely injured Imu, his attack was not over yet. White Fang sword technique, swallow returns. With his back to Yumu and Junyu, Hitaki Sakumo swung the White Fang dagger in his hand and flew straight to Yumu's back at an incredibly fast speed. The sharp sound of breaking air reminded Yumu, but he had just lost an arm and was in extreme pain, so he could no longer dodge. Yumu! Jun's loud cry came to Yumu's ears. Pfft! The sound of bodies being torn and pierced was heard, and the battlefield suddenly became quiet, and everyone's attention turned to the center of the battlefield. At the last moment, Jun wanted to use her own body to block the fatal blow for her husband, but she underestimated the piercing power of Hitaki Sakumo's White Fang short sword with lightning chakra. The sharp White Fang dagger, wrapped in the lightning chakra, attacked in succession, piercing Jun's body instantly without any delay. Then Yumu's heart was also pierced, killing him on the spot. Chapter 154. No! An ear-piercing scream resounded throughout the battlefield, and all the sand ninjas who witnessed this scene were stunned. With one of their two commanders dead and the other injured, all the surviving Sand Village ninjas were panicked. These two were extremely powerful puppeteers in the Sand Village, but they didn't expect to be defeated like this. Even Imu lost his life. The death of her husband almost made Jun lose her mind. She went crazy and released all the poisonous smoke from the remaining puppets without any care. In an instant, the entire battlefield was shrouded in thick poisonous smoke. Everyone! Retreat! Jun used her last remaining consciousness to give the order to retreat. After hearing the order to retreat, the remaining sand ninjas hurriedly protected Jun and Imu's bodies and quickly retreated towards the Wind Kingdom. Seeing this, Hitaki Sakumo still wanted to give chase. The sand village without its commander was like a stray dog. If not now, when? But the crazy Jun directly detonated the last 4 remaining puppets. The powerful explosion blocked Hitaki Sakumo's pursuit. When the explosion was over, the poisonous smoke had spread everywhere. In desperation, Hitaki Sakumo had to issue an order to retreat and come back to clean up the battlefield after the poisonous smoke dissipated. This raid by Tsunagakure ended so abruptly. Not only did it fail to achieve any results, but it also cost the lives of Commander Imu and Junyu. Yes, Jun, whose body was pierced by the White Fang dagger, eventually did not hold on. Although there were medical ninjas in the team, they were unable to cure Jun. Eventually, Jun died on the way of retreat due to excessive blood loss. In this battle, Konoha won a great victory, fighting against a larger force with fewer people, and achieving an almost 1-to-1 casualty ratio. They even killed the commander of the Sand Village. The prestige of Konoha White Fang Hitaki Sakumo soared in the village, and was unrivaled for the time being. But because of this, Cho deeply hated Hitaki Sakumo, and not long after, she personally led a large army to attack Konoha again, but all the poisons she developed were broken one by Tsunade, who came here to support. But that's a story for later, so let's not talk about it for now. The focus returned to the Hidden Mist Village. Ever since that day when the third Mizukage Bing handed over the matters related to the Kagaya clan to Kingxi, Kagaya Feng and Kingxi had a friendly communication and recognized each other. Observing the movements of the Kagaya clan is the task that Kingxi assigned to Kagaya Feng. Now that he already knows Kagaya Musashi's thoughts, there is nothing to say. As long as he launches a coup, Kingxi will immediately appear to suppress him and teach him what the real corpse bone vein is. As for why they didn't take action directly, it was because there was no substantial evidence. Without evidence, even the Mizukage couldn't just touch a ninja clan, let alone the Kagaya clan, one of the 3 major families that established the village, even if they had already fallen out with the Hidden Mist Village and moved out. On this day, Kingxi received a message from the underground gold exchange in the Land of Fire. Kingxi was very excited and used the eye technique Takamaji Hara to go to the Land of Rain that night. Then he sneaked into the Land of Fire from the Land of Rain and came to the northeastern part of the Land of Fire. Ha ha ha! Looking at the long-distance radio test being completed in front of him, Kingxi looked at Amato Sanzu, who was wearing orange lenses, a black suit, and had a beard at a young age, and burst into hearty laughter. He didn't expect that the young man he accidentally rescued after completing a mission in a small town in the Land of Water a few years ago would bring him such a big surprise, because at that time, the young man named Sanzu Amato said that he liked to do research and could barely be considered a scientist. So, Kingxi contacted his subordinates in the underground gold exchange with the mentality of giving it a try, and sent him to a base in the northeast of the Land of Fire, and approved a large sum of funds for him to conduct research. Kingxi is really fed up with the strange technology tree in the ninja world. After he becomes the Mizukage, he will definitely change this strange phenomenon. Even though electricity had been invented, many places in the hidden mist village still relied on candles for lighting at night. Radio communications had also been around for a long time, but the distance was very short and it was powered by batteries. Even this short-distance communication had never been used in war. At least Kyoji had never heard of any ninja village using it in the two ninja world wars. It was only used for ordinary tasks like catching cats and dogs. Short-range radio seems to have been used by ninja villages only during the Third Ninja World War, but wireless telegraphy has never been seen used by any ninja village, and this technology does not seem to have appeared in the ninja world. Also, computers already exist in the ninja world, but CG has never seen any department in the Hidden Mist village that uses computers for work. CG can understand using scrolls for important information and ninjutsu, but ordinary information that can obviously be stored on computers is still stored in very primitive paper files. Let's talk about transportation. The shipbuilding technology of the Hidden Mist village is very advanced, and the large ships built are all powered by steam engines, but there are still no cars or trains in the ninja world. There are trains in the Snow Country, but it seems that they appeared only after the Third Ninja World War, and they don't exist now. Also, Kingji remembered very clearly that when he was on a mission in the capital of the Water Country, he saw the daimyo of the Water Country using a battery-powered phone to communicate, but he had never seen it in the Hidden Mist village. All kinds. It was like chakra and technology were two parallel lines that did not intersect. But in Kingsi's opinion, if the supernatural power of chakra could be combined with serious technology to form chakra technology powered by chakra, wouldn't it be possible to achieve breakthroughs in many technologies that were originally limited by power? Moreover, he vaguely remembered that when he watched some short video clips of Boruto in his previous life, there seemed to be a chakra train called Thunder Car in it, as well as a chakra-powered cannon invented by the Hidden Cloud Village. The chakra radio developed by Sanzu Amato this time was an attempt by CG. He had briefly mentioned some of his ideas to Sanzu Amato before, and Sanzu Amato lived up to his self-proclaimed title of scientist, and he developed this chakra-powered technology in just a few years. This type of chakra radio is not very large and can be said to be portable. It can be put into a ninja tool bag or stored in a scroll. It is also extremely easy to use. When used, it will consume different amounts of chakra depending on the distance of the message. However, according to Kingsi's calculations, even if it is a distance from the land of earth to the land of water, it will at most consume about the chakra of a chunin. Moreover, Sanzu Amato also developed an earhook-type chakra wireless phone, which is similar to the walkie-talkie that Kingsi knew. By setting up a base station mode signal converter within a certain range, real-time conversation can be achieved within a certain distance. Kingsi seemed to see that in future wars, the Hidden Mist village would not only be able to learn about changes in the battlefield situation in real time, but could also use it to easily transmit orders to all teams and easily implement various tactics. Sanzu Amato, the scientist in the inner circle of the Kara organization. According to the information released by Boruto, Boruto begins in the 80th year of Konoha, which is the 80th year of Kirigakure in this book. His daughter Sanzu Akapi died 12 years ago, in the 68th year of Kirigakure, at the age of 24. This means she was born in the 44th year of Kirigakure, and Sanzu Amato looks to be about 60 to 70 years old. Based on this, it can be inferred that Sanzu Amato is currently between 15 to 20 years old. Chapter 155. Kingji was very satisfied. After confirming the effect, he immediately asked Sanzu Amato to expand production and prepare to fully equip the Hidden Mist village in a short time. At the same time, he ordered Sanzu Amato to continue other research and optimize the communication distance of wireless phones. Then he put several finished products into his Takamaji Ehara space and prepared to return. But when Kingsi opened his pure eyes and prepared to use the eye technique Takamaji Ehara to return to the village, suddenly, he vaguely felt a sense of calling from his blood, and this sense of calling made Kingsi feel familiar. Therefore, he decided not to rush back to the village, but to go to the place where he was summoned to find out. The thing that could cause the Otsutsuki blood in his body to fluctuate was most likely something related to the Otsutsuki clan. Soon, Kingsi followed the guidance of the throbbing blood and came to a rather hidden cave. He found that the vague sense of calling came from this cave. The entrance of the cave was covered with dense vegetation. If it was not for careful observation, it would be difficult to discover its existence. The pure eye slowly opened, Ching's eye concentrated and began to observe carefully. In the field of vision of the pure eye, although there was still a long distance from the internal space channel, the subtle and hidden space fluctuations were clearly visible. This fluctuation was extremely weak, and if Ching Si did not have a keen and powerful perception ability, plus the time and space ability brought to him by the pure eye, it would be almost impossible to detect. King Si suddenly realized what this place was. This should be the location of the space passage that the Hyuga clan took when returning from the moon 1,000 years ago. King Ji had long known that there was such a space passage leading to the moon in the ninja world, but he didn't know its exact location, and he felt that the moon would not be of much help to him, so he didn't think about looking for it specifically. Unexpectedly, when he came to the fire country this time, he would feel a sense of call from his bloodline here. As for why he didn't feel this feeling the last time he passed by the fire country on his way to the border between the rain country and the fire country to watch the battle, King Si guessed that it might be because his strength was not enough at that time, or the concentration of his blood was not enough, or it might be that he didn't have the pure eye at that time. King Si did not hesitate. With his great skill and courage, he stepped directly into the cave. Inside the cave, as King Si went deeper, the fluctuations in space became clearer and clearer, and he could sense them even without opening his pure eyes. Having arrived at the deepest part of the cave, a faintly glowing pool of water appeared in front of King Si, but looking closely, the pool of water was just an appearance. Looking deeper through the special chakra shrouding the pool of water and the barrier covering it, King Si could clearly see the constantly changing and twisting space passage in the deepest part that was folded up by Otsutsuki Hamura with exquisite means. Looks like this is it. It's hidden really well. King Si thought to himself. If it were any other ninja, even if their strength reached King Si's level, but they didn't have extremely strong perception or space-time abilities, they would be unlikely to notice anything unusual here if they just stood at the entrance of the cave without going deep inside for a careful exploration. But who would come here to carefully explore such a hidden cave for no reason? Ching Si stood quietly in front of the pool, carefully considering for a while, and finally decided to go in and explore the way. He took a deep breath, slowly dived into the water, and swam all the way down. As time went by, Ching Si gradually went deeper into the pool. The water pressure around him was getting stronger and stronger, but it did not affect his speed. Finally, he successfully reached the bottom of the pool. However, he was not confused by the scene in front of him, but continued to move forward without hesitation and passed through. When he emerged from the water again, a completely new scene appeared before him. This was a more secluded pool of water, emitting a faint light, making the entire space seem a little dim. What was even more surprising was that there were many golden light clusters flashing around the pool, shining like bright stars, surrounding the pool, forming a beautiful and mysterious picture. The golden light balls exuded an inexplicable aura, which attracted King Si's attention. Under the observation of the pure eyes, King Si instantly understood the nature of these golden light balls. If one accidentally touched the golden light balls, the chakra retained in them would immediately pull the person who touched them into the illusion. Ching Si shook his head. Since he had already seen through it, he might as well just avoid it. It seems that this pool of water with golden light is the space channel. If we pass through the pool of water in front of us and reach the other end of the space channel, we should be able to reach the moon. Ching Si, who had already explored the situation, decisively turned around and left, then returned the same way. He did not intend to go to the moon immediately through this space channel, because who knows what the situation is on the moon. After leaving a mark of his pupil power at the entrance of the cave, he prepared to go back to the hidden mist village to call for help. Chapter 156. After returning to the hidden mist village, King Si did not delay and immediately called his grandfather Yuanshi, who was resting at home, and went to the Mizukage building together. In the Mizukage's office, Bing and Yuanshi looked at the two exquisite gadgets in King Si's hands in confusion, wondering, what are these two things? King Si smiled mysteriously, took out the chakra radio and ear-hooked chakra phone, and then explained their uses and functions in detail. Bing and Yuanshi's eyes became brighter and brighter as they listened to King Si's introduction. As experienced people, they immediately realized the great role these gadgets could play when ninjas were performing missions, even on the battlefield. In order to give Bing and Master Yuan a more intuitive understanding, King Si called several Anbu ninjas and showed them how to use the chakra radio and ear-hanging chakra phone. At this time, Bing and Yuanshi had fully understood the value of these two things. They realized that if these two devices could be applied on a large scale, convenient communication would greatly enhance the advantage of the hidden mist village on the battlefield. Although the success or failure of a war is ultimately determined by the strength of individual ninjas and the strength of both sides' high-end combat forces, if a village's high-end combat forces cannot be single person like Hashirama Senju or Madara Uchiha in the past, and can fight against a village with one man's strength, then using different sophisticated tactics during the war is still very important and can even determine the direction of a war. The two things that King Ji took out could allow the Hidden Mist village to crush its opponent tactically, and could even be said to be a dimensionality reduction attack on other ninja villages that still relied on more primitive communication methods. Although using spirit animals as a communication tool can also achieve a similar communication effect as wireless telegraph, relying on spirit communication to transmit information to each other is definitely not as direct and faster as wireless telegraph. Moreover, there are not many summoned beasts in the ninja world, and even fewer summoned beasts that can be used as communication tools. There are also not many ninjas with summoned beasts in each ninja village. Furthermore, these ninjas with summoned beasts are basically the backbone of the ninja village. How could they be used specifically to transmit information? Moreover, if information is to be transmitted to each other, at least the two places where the information is transmitted must have ninjas who have signed a contract with the same summoned beast, or the summoned beast itself can use reverse summoning techniques to travel back and forth. Therefore, transmitting information through spiritualism is basically only used in emergency situations and cannot be popularized as a regular means. Afterwards, Bing and Master Yuan decided to popularize and promote the two devices in the village after the chakra radio and ear-hooked chakra phone were mass-produced. They believed that in the near future, this would become an important weapon of the Hidden Mist village and lay a solid foundation for its prosperity. After discussing these two new types of chakra equipment, the smile on Kingsi's face gradually faded, and his expression began to become serious. What followed was the serious business he wanted to talk about this time. Afterwards, Kingsi told Bing and Yuanxi about his discovery in the Land of Fire and some information related to the moon. The two who had already had a preliminary understanding of the secrets of the ninja world were shocked again. Their eyes were wide open, fully showing the extent of their shock. The moon that they could see every night was not formed naturally, but was created by the legendary Six-Path Sage using some extremely powerful ninjutsu. Not only that, there is actually a space channel in the current ninja world that can go to the moon. Bing and Master Yuan both felt that the amount of information was a bit too much and they urgently needed to calm down and take a break. This information about the moon is much more shocking than some of the ninja secrets that Kingsi told them a while ago. However, Kingsi also had some reservations. For example, the moon was actually a sealed place, where the Six Paths brothers used to seal their mother, the source of the chakra of the ninja world, Kaguya Otsutsuki, and her 10 tails body, as well as the messy things and various love-hate entanglements of Kaguya Otsutsuki's family. He hadn't told them all these real big melons, otherwise Bing and Yuanxi would probably faint on the spot after hearing them. The third Mizukage Bing shook his head vigorously, stroked his forehead with his right hand, and then waved at Kingsi, signaling him to stop and take it easy. The Yuan master standing by also had his mouth slightly open, and did not move for a long time. Although CG mentioned last time that the Hyuga clan returned to the ninja world from the moon, he did not say that the moon was such a moon, nor did he mention that some descendants of Hamura still live on the moon. There is also no information about the Otsutsuki clan on the moon in the memories left by Otsutsuki Ishiki. After all, for thousands of years, the Otsutsuki clan on the moon has been observing the ninja world, but has never appeared in the ninja world. If they knew that there were many descendants of Otsutsuki Hamura left on the moon with Otsutsuki as their surname and most of them inherited the Otsutsuki bloodline, Otsutsuki Ishiki would have already started thinking of ways to plan to resurrect on the moon. And Kiyoshi only had a vague understanding of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon from some short videos about Otsutsuki Tonari that he had seen in his previous life, but he didn't know what the current situation of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon was, or what level of strength the members of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon were. Therefore, he didn't dare to go to the moon alone. Although Kiyoshi has the eye technique Xiaoming Biguna, the Otsutsuki clan on the moon also has a more powerful Byakugan than the Hyuga clan, and Kiyoshi vaguely remembers that there seems to be an even more powerful eye on the moon. Therefore, he is not sure whether he can avoid the detection of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon after arriving on the moon. Kingsi looked at the two old men in front of him and couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. He certainly knew how shocking what he had just said was, and it completely overturned the common sense of the ninja world. He could also understand the feeling of being shocked by incredible information. If the two had not behaved like this, but had accepted it calmly, Kingsi would have suspected whether the information he said had already spread in the ninja world. Kingsi just waited for Bing and Yuanxi to sort out their thoughts, and at the same time he kept thinking in his mind how many Kirigakure ninjas he should take to go to the moon with him. After a while, Bing and Master Yuan finally sorted out everything and calmed down. So, Xiao Qingxi, what do you think? Bing paused and asked Qingxi. Chapter 157. This is what I think. Qingxi told Bing and Yuanqi what he had just thought about. We are not sure about the strength of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. The space channel is still within the territory of the Land of Fire, and the distance from Konoha is not particularly far, only about 100 kilometers. So it is not suitable to bring too many people to the moon this time. The master nodded, agreeing with Qingxi's analysis. Bing on the side thought for a moment, then said, well, I'll go with you this time. Elder Master and Jian will be in charge of the village, and will bring along the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost, who has the combat power of a cage level under the blessing of the big sword Sameheta. Bing paused for a moment, then continued, oh, right. The village has almost mastered the sealing techniques related to the tailed beasts. Let's deal with the three tails first before setting off. If everything goes well, the three tails Jinchuriki can also serve as a great fighting force. After listening to this, Qing-si thought about it and then agreed. The space channel was there, and a few days wouldn't matter. It would be best to go there after all preparations were made. Then, are there any suitable candidates? Yuanqi asked from the side. He remembered the qualifications required for the candidate for the Jinchuriki that Qingxi had mentioned to him a few years ago, and kept thinking about which ninja in the village would be more suitable. Qingxi hesitated for a moment. He was thinking of letting his younger brother Yagura be the Three Tails Jinchuriki. After all, Karatagi could greatly enhance his strength. However, this still depended on Yagura's personal wishes. If Yagura didn't want to become the Jinchuriki, he certainly wouldn't force him. I talked to Karujutsu Yagura a few days ago and asked him about his views on Jinchuriki. Bing spoke up at this time, as if he saw Qingxi's dilemma. Ever since Yagura was easily defeated by Uchiha Madara last time, he has been thirsting for strength. He longs to keep up with you and to become stronger. I also told him about some of the village's Jinchuriki experiments. Although we now have the Uzumaki clan sealing technique, no one can guarantee success. However, he still took the initiative to express his willingness to become a candidate for Jinchuriki. After hearing this, Qingxi was silent. His little brother has grown up. Kiyoshi found his elder sister Chinano and younger brother Yagura who were eating at a sushi restaurant. The two were resting at home today, and with nothing to do, they came out together to find a place to eat. Brother Qingxi is here. Seeing Qingxi coming, the younger brother spoke enthusiastically. Qingxi smiled at him, sat down opposite Yagura, then turned around and greeted his sister Chinano beside him. He looked at Yagura with a slightly serious expression, hesitated for a moment, and then asked Yagura softly, have you decided? Qingxi believed that Yagura could understand what he meant. After all, the secrets of the hidden mist village involving the Jinchuriki should not be spoken out in public. Chinano, who was sitting opposite Yagura and next to Kiyoshi, was completely confused. She had no idea what the two brothers were up to and why they suddenly became riddlers. Yet, Yagura's face also became serious. I have thought about it carefully. I believe I can succeed. After a pause of a few seconds, Yagura whispered again, after all, I don't want to fall too far behind you. Qingxi brother. Okay. Since you know everything, I won't say much. But don't worry, you'll be fine with me here. Qingxi heard the firm belief in Yagura's words, so he changed the subject, then you should have a good rest these 2 days. You don't have to go to the Anbu for now, let Chino-san take over for you for a few days, you should adjust your condition, and the village should also prepare in advance. When the day comes, I will have someone notify you. With him around, and with the Uzumaki clan sealing technique, Qingxi didn't think anything would go wrong with the mere Three Tails Jinchuriki. What are you two talking about? Chino Kizuna was anxious. She could understand every word the two brothers said, but why couldn't she understand what they wanted to say when they put them together? Can you please make your words clear? Bad. Yagura and Seiji's expressions suddenly changed, and they looked at each other, their eyes communicating frantically. Seiji, didn't you tell Chino-ne? Yagura, oh. I forgot. I forgot. What should I do? What should I do? Help, help, help. Qing-si, I can't do anything. I can't even protect myself. Yagura, help, help, help. Qingxi exhaled lightly and stood up as if nothing had happened. Sister Chinano, Yagura. The Mizukage-sama has something else to talk to me about, so I'll leave first. Kingsley didn't want to face his furious sister, so he decisively found an opportunity to collapse. Retreat. Sell. Escape. Yagura, who was full of despair, was left standing there to face the impending wrath of Chino Kizuna. If Chino Kizuna knew that Yagura was going to choose to become the Three Tails Jinchuriki, and that CG knew it in advance but did not stop him, and most importantly, she was kept in the dark, then there was no need to think about it, she would definitely give both CG and Yagura a lecture of love. Although becoming Yagura's Three Tails Jinchuriki has become a foregone conclusion, and even if Chino Kizuna objects it cannot be changed, but Kyoshi does not want to face the scene of Chino Kizuna's crazy preaching, so he decisively chooses to run away. It is better for me to let Yagura face it alone, rather than let my friend die. 3 days later, outside the Hidden Mist Village, at the former number 3 base. Lord Mizukage. Let me take action later. Kingsley said calmly as he stood beside the third Mizukage Bing, I want to test the level of the Three Tails. Bing agreed immediately. He also wanted to see Kingsley's current methods and strength. When he rescued him from Uchihamadara before, he was seriously injured and unconscious and could not witness the battle between Kingsley and Uchihamadara. Following Bing's signal, the sealing squad unsealed the seal on the sealing pot that sealed the Three Tails, and then quickly retreated. Roar. With a roar, the entire space seemed to be shattered, and the destructive tailed beast chakra began to diffuse in the air. The air began to become restless, and the powerful chakra fluctuations made everything around it become distorted, and the three-tailed beast appeared. The huge body of the three-tailed monster appeared in front of everyone. Its body was as huge as a mountain, covered with a hard shell with countless spikes on it, flashing a cold light. Its 3 thick tails kept swinging back and forth behind it. Yagura, as the candidate for the Three Tails Jinchuriki, was standing not far away at this moment, looking at the giant turtle with 3 tails that was emitting endless power with fiery eyes. Chapter 158. The 3 tails, which had just reappeared in the outside world, roared again. The sound was deafening and resounded through the sky, as if announcing to the entire ninja world that it had appeared again. This roar was more like a celebration, celebrating that it had finally escaped from that small, dark, and depressing sealed space and returned to the free ninja world. The poor Three Tails didn't know yet that this was just a change of sealing place that the Hidden Mist Village was preparing to give it. Among the 9-tailed beasts, the three-tailed beast has a relatively gentle temperament and personality, and can even be said to be a more Buddhist existence, but this does not mean that it will willingly accept the fate of being sealed. Especially when it recalled its previous experience, the anger in its heart was even more difficult to suppress. It was not it that actively tempted the Jinchuriki to go berserk. It was obviously your Kirigakure's sealing technique that was poor, so why blame it on it? Not only that, it was once again severely beaten by the third Mizukage Bing with ice escape, and then it was sealed into the narrow sealing pot. This feeling of humiliation makes the tailed beast known as natural disaster unable to let it go, and the clay man is still quite angry. Suddenly, the 3 tails felt the ice chakra aura of the third Mizukage Bing that it hated extremely. In an instant, it became angry, opened its mouth wide, and the yin-yang chakra began to gather quickly in front of its mouth. The third Mizukage Bing looked at Kingsley beside him, his eyes full of questions. Kingsley returned a reassuring look to Bing, then took a step forward, and at the same time his eyes changed, his pure eye was already open, and the condensation process of the tailed beast ball was seen clearly by Kingsley. Having seen the power of the tailed beast ball in his Heiki Otsutsuki's memory, and having personally experienced the tailed beast ball of the 6 tails during the last battle, Kingsley was somewhat interested in the tailed beast ball move, but at that time he did not have the pure eye, and although he was not unfamiliar with Yin Tun, Yang Tun, and Yin Yang Tun, he still had some difficulty with the move of the tailed beast ball. However, this time, he clearly remembered the entire process of the 3-tailed fox using the tailed beast ball. Sanwei, your moves are great, but now, it's mine. Thoughts were flying in his mind, but Kingsley's hands did not stop moving. He slowly began to move his hands, and several seals were completed in an instant. Tailed Beast Jade. Earth Escape Earthquake Core. Kingsley's ninjutsu was launched first. At the moment when the 3 tails was about to shoot out the tailed beast ball, Kingsley used the Earth Escape technique to lift the ground under the front half of the 3 tails. This sudden change caused the 3 tails to suddenly lose balance. Although the tailed beast ball was successfully launched, because the front half of the body was forcibly lifted up, the shooting direction of the tailed beast ball deviated greatly. The tailed beast ball rushed straight and diagonally into the sky, and then exploded in the air. The huge impact force blew a big hole in the thick clouds. The long-lost sunshine fell on the ground, and the gloomy weather suddenly cleared up. Yagura widened his eyes, staring at the powerful tailed beast ball that exploded in mid-air. There was an irrepressible eager light in his eyes, and his gaze became more and more hot. Yagura knew very well that Seiji's strength was so strong that he could not compare to him. They both went to rescue the Mizu cage. Although he, Karitachi Yagura, was also considered a genius ninja of the Hidden Mist village, he was no match for the legendary Uchiha Madara and was defeated with just a glare. However, his brother Seiji was able to fight with Uchiha Madara and successfully rescued the Mizu cage. If he could become the Three Tails Jinchuriki and control the Three Tails to fight as the Mizu cage said, then he would not be defeated by Uchiha Madara in one round again. And he might still be able to fight against Seiji. Although he might still not be Seiji's opponent, at least he could narrow the distance between them and Seiji, which would make him more confident to chase Seiji's footsteps. The tailed beast ball exploding in the air angered the Three Tails. It had just been freed from the seal, and when it sensed the breath of the third Mizu cage ice, it felt a little grumpy. The big firework it used to subconsciously attack ice mist, and the Three Tails' still confused cerebellum suddenly shrank. The huge amount of chakra in the body began to become restless, and the Three Tails opened its mouth again. Water style, Isaki Great Waterfall. Endless water flowed out from the bloody mouth of the Three Tail and rushed towards Kingxi. It can only be said that the Three Tail is worthy of being good at water escape. The power of any of its moves is at least that of A-level ninjutsu. Kingxi's expression remained unchanged, and he calmly changed the seals in his hands, Si, Hai, Su, and the 3 seals were completed in an instant. Earth escape, multiple earth flow walls. Multiple thick earth walls rose from the ground from all directions at the same time, greatly blocking the impact of the three-tailed water style. After one earth wall was broken down, a new one was quickly erected. Finally, under the blocking of the layers of earth walls, the water flow lost its power and everything returned to calm. Kingxi stood quietly on one of the tallest earth walls, calmly looking at the Three Tails in the distance. At this time, the Three Tails' huge single eye was also staring at Kingxi, the mist ninja who had ruined its plans again. Ha! Kingxi chuckled and jumped down from the earth wall. He turned over handsomely and landed steadily on the water surface that had not yet receded due to the three-tailed beast's large-scale water escape. Then he rushed towards the three-tailed beast quickly. He was ready to test out the new moves he had just learned. Water Release Wave Riding Strike. Chakra gathered at his feet, and Kingxi walked on the water, sliding quickly towards the three-tailed beast on the water surface. But the three-tailed beast didn't want Kingxi to get close to him, so he opened his mouth again and fired at Kingxi who was rushing towards him. Water Style, Isobara Cannonball. 5 extremely large chakra water balls, with sharp whistling sounds, continuously smashed towards Kingxi. Kingxi's expression remained unchanged, his right eye lit up slightly, and his pupil power quickly gathered. Takamagahara. 5 big box heavens suddenly appeared on the path of the incoming chakra water ball. These 5 big box heavens were like an indestructible shield, perfectly blocking all the attack routes of the iron cannonballs. The iron cannonballs hit the great box sky with a deafening roar. Each impact caused a huge noise and set off surging chakra ripples. However, these seemingly powerful iron cannonballs could not shake the Daxiation, whose surface was shining with a mysterious black and red light. The Daxiation, made of yin-yang escape, possessed an unparalleled degree of solidity. Although it was hit far away by the huge kinetic energy of the iron cannonballs, the Daxiation also successfully offset the offensive and power of the iron cannonballs. Chapter 159. Without the threat of the cannonballs, Kingxi approached the huge body of the three-tailed fox in just a few breaths. When the three-tailed fox saw that its attack did not achieve the desired effect, it was about to continue to use water jutsu, but it was running out of time as Kingxi had already approached it, so it had to slightly tilt its body, swing hard, and use its thick tail to hit Kingxi. However, the actions of the three-tail could not be hidden from the extremely insightful pure eye. At the same time as the sound of breaking through the air was heard, Kingxi also activated the pupil technique Shaoying Biguna, instantly shrinking his body and avoiding the powerful blow of the tail. Then he restored his original shape again, stepped hard on the tail of the three-tail with both feet, and flew towards the three-tail like a cannonball. Kingxi in the air stretched out his right hand and stared at his palm. He took a deep breath and began to mobilize the chakra in his body quickly. Suddenly, a strong aura emanated from him, and the air around him began to become heavy. As the chakra was mobilized, the yang-attributed light blue chakra and the yin-attributed purple-black chakra surged out like a tide. They entangled and intertwined with each other, quickly mixing together in a ratio of 8:2, and then were continuously compressed again and again under Kingxie's control. The yin and yang chakras merged perfectly together, and finally formed a small red and blue chakra energy ball with a destructive aura. Afterwards, the energy ball quickly grew larger and darker in color, and eventually turned into a purple-black sphere slightly larger than a fist, floating quietly in Kingxie's palm. It's the tailed beast ball. With the unparalleled insight of the pure eye, Kingxie memorized the flow of the tailed beast ball's chakra when the three tails used it just now, and then with his powerful talent, he successfully replicated it in one go. The third Mizukage Bing, who was watching the battle from a distance, was also surprised when he sensed the tailed beast ball in Kingxie's hand. It was amazing that he could use the tailed beast ball even though he was not the tailed beast Jinchuriki. Theoretically, if one knows Yin Tun, Yang Tun, and Yin Yang Tun, as long as one knows how the tailed beast ball works and has enough chakra, one should be able to use them, right? And the essence of the tailed beast ball should be a kind of Yin Yang Tun. But suddenly, Kingxie's body trembled, and the tailed beast ball in his hand also shook slightly. After all, it was his first time using the tailed beast ball. Although he used it successfully, his control was still a little inadequate. The purple-black sphere had an extraordinary mass, and the heavy yin-yang release chakra made Kingxie's control a little bit unsmooth. Kingxie's expression changed slightly. He could feel that the tailed beast ball in his hand was on the verge of exploding, but at this time he had already reached the body of the three tails. I'll give it back to you. Let you also taste the tailed beast ball. Kingxie pressed the tailed beast ball in his hand towards the three tails under his feet, then jumped high. At the same time, bones from all over his body quickly broke out of his body, forming a solid bone shield that wrapped Kingxie. Although Kyoshi really wanted to fire the tailed beast ball at the three tails head, he was running out of time this time. The tailed beast ball in his hand no longer had time for Kyoshi to fire it. The tailed beast ball he used for the first time was extremely unstable, so he could only use it to attack the tortoise shell under his feet. Boom! The tailed beast ball shone with a dazzling white light, and then exploded on the back of the three tails, with thick smoke and dust rising. The three tails, which was suddenly attacked by the tailed beast ball, let out an angry roar, but the three tails' defense was indeed ranked high among the nine-tailed beasts. The carapace on its back was indeed extremely hard, and the explosion of the tailed beast ball could not completely break through the defense, but only shattered the carapace at the explosion site. Although a lot of blood was shed, for the huge three tails, this could only be regarded as a minor injury and insignificant. Cough! Cough cough! Cough cough cough! Kingxie's figure flew backwards in the smoke in a mess. The bone shield covering his body was blown into pieces, and there were broken bones everywhere. Although Kingxie jumped up in time, he was still affected by the tailed beast ball he had cast. Although he was not injured, he was covered in dirt. It can only be said that the first use of the tailed beast ball was not quite what Kingxie wanted. It still needs to be improved in the future before it can be better used in actual combat. However, with Kingxie's talent, I believe that this situation will not happen again the next time he uses the tailed beast ball. Moreover, this was a major gain for Kyoshi. Before, he had always lacked ninjutsu like the tailed beast ball that could perform long-range attacks and was extremely powerful. Fighting against conventional ninjas was okay, as Kyoshi's various ninjutsu and corpse bone veins were enough to cope with it. However, facing some super-standard ninjas, especially last time, when facing Uchiha Madara's complete form of Susanoo, Kingxie had no means to break the defense at all. This is why he retreated. The Ashbone technique can break its defense, and now Kingxie does not need to risk his life to perform the Ashbone technique, but you can't really let Kingxie use his physical body to resist the complete form of Susanoo, and then attack at close range. Kingxie is not a reckless man like the Raikage, he can't do such a thing. And now, with the tailed beast ball, a powerful weapon that can attack from a distance, Kingxie has enough confidence that if he meets old Bantu again next time, he can have a good fight with him. Kingxie adjusted his body shape in the air, then landed and stared at the three-tailed beast in front of him. The strength of these three-tailed beasts was much stronger than the runaway six-tailed beast last time. Although the Six Tails was in a runaway state that time and was not very clear-headed, and was also restricted by the Jinchuriki and could not completely break away from the Jinchuriki's body, but in the memory that Otsutsuki is Heiki left to Seiji, the overall strength of the three tails was indeed slightly stronger than the six tails. Sanwei also stared at Kingxie. Before, it didn't pay much attention to King C's appearance. Now it was much more awake and began to look at King C carefully. Seeing King C's appearance, which was exactly the same as that of Mr. Liudeo and his brother, with 2 horns on his forehead, Sanwei was shocked. How could there still be a pure Otsutsuki clan in the ninja world? The descendants of the old man and his brother obviously inherited incomplete bloodlines or even degenerated bloodlines. The 9-tailed beasts should have some knowledge of the Otsutsuki clan, at least Otsutsuki Hamura and the others must know. Chapter 160. The 3-tailed fox didn't quite believe this and thought that CG might just look similar. After all, his eyes were not the Byakugan or Sharingan that it was familiar with. Ninjutsu, Shadow Caress. The 3-tailed beast arched its entire body, and its thick shell began to extend under the effect of chakra, then gradually wrapped around its entire body, rolling quickly towards King C's position like a wheel. It wanted to use its huge size and weight to crush King C. The members of the Sealing class and Yagura who were watching the battle from a distance, watching the 3-tails' powerful move, couldn't help but sweat for CG. The third Mizukage Bing was also a little nervous, not knowing how CG would respond. He had seen the 3-tails wheel rolling move before, and knew how powerful it was. The huge size provided extremely powerful kinetic energy, and he also spent a lot of chakra to continuously create ice walls to block the 3-tails move. King C still looked calm, and there was no panic on his face as he watched the 3-tailed wheel rolling over at high speed. He stood still, without any intention of dodging, and put his hands together, and chakra burst out. Water style, Damaixi Yuha. The surging water rushed towards the 3-tails with great force. King C certainly didn't think that he could stop the 3-tails with just a B-level water burst wave. He just wanted to use water escape to slightly slow down the speed of the 3-tails and slow down the wheels of the 3-tails. Seeing that the speed of the 3-tails slowed down as expected under the impact of the water explosion wave, King C squatted down, then touched the ground with both hands, and chakra continued to flow into the ground. Corpse vein dance of the early ferns. Dense bone spurs continued to break through the ground and then emerged from the water. In the blink of an eye, a large forest of white bones was formed. The 3-tails rushed into the bone forest with unstoppable momentum. White bone spurs kept emerging from the ground, blocking the 3-tails from moving forward. These bone spurs grew rapidly like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. The 3-tails' wheels struggled to move forward in this endless and fast-growing bone forest. Although they kept smashing all the bone spurs that blocked the way, they finally came to a complete stop. The 3-tailed beast, whose attack was blocked, returned to its original shape. It raised its head and roared, and the 3 thick tails behind it kept sweeping around like huge whips. Every swing was accompanied by great force, and the bone spurs were destroyed one after another, and bone chips and bone fragments flew in the air. The attack of the 3-tailed beast was as fierce as a storm, causing the entire bone forest to tremble. However, despite the extremely powerful destructive power of the 3-tailed beast, the bone forest also resisted tenaciously with the support of King C's chakra. New bone spurs continued to emerge from the ground, filling the damaged gaps, making it difficult for the 3-tailed beast to easily break through the defense line of the bone forest. Moreover, King C's attack was far from over. Although the 3-tails had caused a certain degree of damage to the bone forest, it was insignificant compared to the regeneration speed of the bone forest. As King Si continued to inject chakra, the bone forest was growing wildly and savagely at an extremely rapid and amazing speed. Suddenly, Sanwei felt a sharp pain, as if something sharp had pierced its abdomen and penetrated deep into its body. Then the next moment, Sanwei knew what this thing was. He saw sharp bone spurs growing out from under Sanwei's body, and with fierce momentum, they continuously and fiercely stabbed into the abdomen of Sanwei, which had a slightly weaker defense. Intense pain instantly spread throughout the 3-tailed beast's body, and it let out a shrill scream. The wounded 3-tailed beast immediately fell into a frenzy, with a flash of anger in its huge single eye. The 3-tailed beast began to struggle violently, trying to leave the position it was in immediately and get rid of the bone spur attack, but it was too late. After piercing into the body of the 3-tail, those uneven and numerous bone spurs continued to penetrate into the body of the 3-tail under the effect of chakra, destroying it crazily and causing endless pain to the 3-tail. At the same time, several extremely thick bone spurs pierced through the limbs and tail of the 3-tail at the same time, nailing the 3-tail firmly in place. Afterwards, the chakra with special sealing properties produced by the sealing technique that could restrict the tailed beasts learned from the Uzumaki clan was transmitted through the bone spurs that pierced the 3-tail's body, completely suppressing the 3-tail's movements and making it unable to break free from the bone spurs and unable to move at all. Sealing technique, tail locking seal. Under the influence of the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique that specifically targets the tailed beasts, the three tails aura plummeted instantly, and its struggling movements began to slowly weaken, and eventually stopped completely. If someone could stand high in the sky and look down, they would clearly witness a shocking scene, a white bone lotus with three tails at the center, slowly blooming. Sanwei's blood continued to flow out from the wound, dyeing the bone spurs red. The blood continued to drip down the bone spurs. The white bone spurs and the red blood stains set off each other, creating a sad and beautiful picture here. It's over. Kingxi thought to himself. Except for the most powerful 9 tails, the other tailed beasts were no match for him now. Kingxi turned around and signaled to the people in the distance. Soon, Yagura, the ninjas from the sealing squad, and the third Mizukage Bing came to the three tails. Bing opened his mouth and praised Ching Si, "You are really worthy of it. Your strength has far surpassed mine." Yagura also sighed to Cg with a complicated expression, "Cg brother is really strong." Looking at the three tails being easily beaten down by Cg, Yagura was not very calm. Not long ago, he felt the powerful might of the three tails and was thinking about catching up with Cg by becoming the three tails Jinchuriki. But now, looking at the miserable three tails in front of him, Yagura couldn't help but feel shaken. But on second thought, Yagura became determined again. He was a genius ninja from the Kyojuro clan of the Hidden Mist village. How could he give up so easily? He would continue to work harder and he would definitely catch up with Cg. Seeing Yagura's expression constantly changing, Kingxi, who knew what his little brother was thinking, patted his shoulder gently without saying anything. At this time, Bing interrupted Yagura's thoughts and said, "Get ready and perform the Jinchuriki's sealing ceremony." Yes. After receiving the order from the third Mizukage Bing, everyone in the sealing class immediately began to make preparations. Chapter 161. Although the water on the ground had receded, the land in this area had become very soft and muddy due to the erosion of the water flow. Therefore, at the request of the sealing squad ninja, Kingxi used earth escape to reinforce the ground so that the technique could be better engraved on the ground. Complicated sealing techniques were continuously carved on the ground by the members of the sealing class. Soon, a sealing technique that looked extremely complicated appeared before everyone's eyes. Following Bing's signal, Yagura took off his shirt, walked to the center of the sealing ritual, and sat down cross-legged. The 4 ninjas from the sealing class had already taken positions in the 4 directions of the three tails. At Bing's command, the 4 of them began to form hand seals simultaneously, Suisai Haiyin. Ninja technique, 4-direction sealing formation. Invisible chakra fluctuations emanated from the positions of the 4 people at the same time, and a transparent barrier rose up, covering the three tails. Then the barrier slowly shrank under the control of the 4 people, and finally covered the three tails' body tightly. Very good. Keep going. Bing continued to give orders after seeing that everything was going well. The 4 people who received the order changed the seals in their hands, and the color of the barrier also began to change with the changes in the seals. The originally transparent barrier was gradually dyed with a layer of light red, and the three-tailed beast wrapped in the barrier also began to change. The red-tailed beast chakra was continuously drawn out of the three-tailed beast's body, and under the control of the 4 people, it was continuously guided towards Yagura's position. Seeing the three tails chakra appear, the other 4 sealing squad ninjas who were on standby beside Yagura began to form hand seals together. Sealing technique 4-symbol seal. Under the effect of the 4-symbol seal, the three tails chakra floating in the air began to rapidly flow into Yagura's abdomen. The heavy-tailed beast chakra entered the body, instantly paralyzing Yagura's body. Yagura was breathing heavily, but luckily he was prepared and managed to hold back from crying out in pain. As the sealing progressed, the size of the three tails began to shrink continuously, and soon, it completely dissipated. The entire three tails had been sealed in Yagura's body, and the three tails Jinchuriki was born. As soon as the three tail entered his body, Yagura felt a violent shock in his mind, as if an invisible hand was stirring fiercely in his head, causing him to have a splitting headache. Then, a roar sounded deep in his spiritual world. This sound was like thunder in the sky, shaking his soul so much that it almost left his body. A tingling sensation mixed with a hint of fear emerged from his abdomen, and then spread to his entire body, like an electric current running through his body, making his muscles tense and unable to move. Yagura closed his eyes tightly and opened his mouth, wanting to speak, but no sound came out, only the silent and painful groan. The red-tailed beast chakra with a destructive aura appeared in Yagura's abdomen, like a burning flame, emitting a fiery breath, This chakra quickly spread and instantly wrapped Yagura's entire body, as if he was covered with a layer of red-tailed beast chakra. Yagura's eyes instantly turned white, then red, and he lost consciousness due to the impact of the three tails chakra. Everything in his eyes turned blood red, and the whole world was like a stone thrown into a calm lake. Everything he saw was a distorted picture with ripples and waves. This feeling made him feel extremely depressed and painful, as if the whole world was collapsing. Kingxie's face changed slightly. He didn't expect that the three tails, which had been weakened by him, would have the strength to cause trouble as soon as it was sealed. However, just as he was about to help Yagura, the three tails chakra on Yagura's body suddenly began to dissipate slowly like a rootless duckweed. It was the four-symbol seal that took effect. Under the effect of the sealing technique, the three tails chakra was firmly locked in Yagura's body and could no longer cause trouble. The scarlet in Yagura's eyes gradually faded away and slowly returned to normal. Seeing that Yagura was fine, Kingxie walked up to Yagura, half-knelt and began to carefully observe the four-symbol seal on Yagura's abdomen. Through the pure eye, Kingxie could clearly see the sealing technique and the flow of the tailed beast's chakra. After thinking for a moment, Kingxie said to Yagura, "I don't think a four-symbol seal alone is enough. Besides, before you completely reconcile with the three tails, it's not easy to use its chakra. I'll give you another one. This will help you better master and use the three tails chakra." Yagura actually didn't quite understand all this, but he believed that his brother Ciji would not harm him, so he nodded. Seeing that Yagura agreed, Kingji began to quickly form hand seals with both hands. It was also the four-symbol seal. The ninjas in the sealing team needed the strength of 4 people to use it, but for Kingji, he alone was enough. Sealing technique four-symbol seal. Light blue chakra emerged from Kingxi's hand, and then he gently tapped Yagura's abdomen. The newly appeared four-symbol seal quickly combined with the original four-symbol seal. The technique changed rapidly, and soon formed a new sealing technique, the 8-diagram seal. Then Kingxie opened his 5 fingers and turned them counterclockwise on Yagura's abdomen, and the seal was completed. "It's done." Kingxie said to Yagura, "The key to unlocking the seal is your own chakra. Just use your chakra to rotate the seal in a clockwise direction to completely unlock the Bagua seal composed of 2 four-symbol seals." Yagura nodded, indicating that he understood. After the three-tail entered his body, he had not yet recovered and had no strength to speak. Then, Kiyoshi told Yagura everything he knew and all the information about the Jinchuriki he got from the Uzumaki clan, hoping that this information would help his younger brother master the power of the three tails as soon as possible and thus have enough combat power. Ciji and Bing decide to hold off on heading to the moon for a few days while they wait for Yagura to become familiar with the three tails power. Soon, a week passed. It is not known how Yagura and the three tails communicated, but the result was that the three tails accepted Yagura to a certain extent, and Yagura was able to borrow the power of the three tails to fight to a certain extent, and thus became another cage-level strongman in the Hidden Mist Village. It can be said that the Jinchuriki experiment of the Hidden Mist Village was an unprecedented success. Like several other major ninja villages, it finally possessed the Jinchuriki, a village stabilizing force that could be called a stabilizing force and a powerful weapon on the battlefield. In another dimension, there are the remains of the Otsutsuki belonging to Kiyoshi. Kiyoshi brings a small portion of the three tails chakra obtained from Yagura, about a quarter of the amount of the tail, and comes to the front of the 10 tails. Chapter 162. The little Juhobi, who was resting, felt the familiar breath of Kingxie and opened its one eye involuntarily and looked at Kingxie. It knew that its food was coming. Kingxie smiled at the little 10 tails without saying a word. He took out a sealed scroll from the Takamaji Ehara space, then made a seal to unlock it, releasing the three tails chakra inside. The little 10 tails sensed the scent of food, opened its mouth in joy, and sucked hard at the rich red chakra, swallowing the three tails chakra directly. Seeing this, Kingxie sighed helplessly. It was still a long way to go. This little 10 tails had been starved by Otsutsuki as Heike for too long. Afterwards, Kingxie once again absorbed a trace of the 10 tails chakra into his body, and the little 10 tails did not resist, and even took the initiative to give out its chakra. Now it has developed some good feelings towards Kingxie, the shit shoveler who kept his promise and provided it with food. The quality of the 10 tails chakra this time was much better than the first time. After all, the little 10 tails had absorbed a fragment from what was most likely the complete 10 tails and a small part of the three tails chakra. Kingxie's chakra amount and eye power increased again, and the ability of the pure eye was also slightly enhanced under the stimulation of the 10 tails chakra. Name: Otsutsuki Ciji. Age: 17, Born on February 19, 2 in Kirigakure. Height, 183.2 centimeters. Weight, xnumx kg. Strength, kage level, chakra volume 0.76 column. It was finally time to head to the moon. All the affairs of the village had been handed over to the master. With the departure of Kingxi and Bing, the elder master automatically became the highest authority in the Hidden Mist village, coordinating all affairs of the village. Kingxi also informed Yagura about the matters related to the trip to the moon. After hearing this, Yagura, like Bing and Yuanxi at that time, fell into a long state of shock. The three tails in Yagura's body was also shocked. He did not expect that there were descendants of the old man Liudeo's younger brother on the moon. In fact, Yagura did not have any in-depth communication with the three tails. On the second day after becoming the three tails Jinchuriki, Yagura was actively pulled into the sealed space by the three tails for a friendly meeting. After revealing some of the information he knew to the three tails remained silent for a long time, and then kicked Yagura out without saying anything. Then Yagura, who came out of the sealed space, was surprised to find that he could mobilize some of the three tails' power. In the Mizukage's office, Kyoji placed his hands on the shoulders of the third Mizukage Bing and the three tails Jinchuriki Yagura, and then activated the eye technique Takama Jiehara. The figures of the three people slowly disappeared in front of the master along with the fluctuations of space. At the entrance of the cave, three figures emerged. "Is this Xiao Kingxi's space-time ability?" Bing exclaimed, "What a powerful ability!" He crossed an unknown distance in an instant and came directly from the Hidden Mist village to the Land of Fire. Yagura, who was also experiencing instant teleportation for the first time, nodded, his eyes filled with shock. Brother Seiji's ability was too strong. "Let's go. This is the place." Kingxi smiled and said, then he took the lead and walked into the cave. Bing and Yagura followed closely behind him and walked in. Bing and Yagura were both ninjas with strong perception abilities. As they went deeper, they also sensed a faint sense of spatial distortion in the deepest part. After reaching the deepest part of the cave, without waiting for the two to ask, Kingxi took them through the faintly glowing pool of water. When the three of them emerged from the water, they arrived at the place where Kingxi had arrived last time. "Mizukage-sama, Yagura. Be very careful and do not touch these golden light balls. If you do, the chakra inside will be triggered immediately and you will fall into an illusion. Although this will not bring any substantial threat, it will also waste a lot of time. And I don't know if this light ball has any early warning function. But if the illusion is triggered, it is very likely that the people on the moon will be aware of our whereabouts in advance." Kingxi said cautiously to Bing and Yagura. The two nodded to show that they understood, and then the three of them entered the pool in front of them. When they emerged from the water again, they were surprised to find that they had come to a huge cave. The interior of the cave is spacious and dark, with faint lights flickering on the walls, dotted with stars. The top of the cave soars into the clouds, giving people a sense of endless depth. However, at the moment when the three appeared, a dull roar suddenly sounded. This roar echoed in the cave like thunder, making the three people's ears buzz. Then, in all directions of the cave, huge crabs appeared with roars. The bodies of these crabs were covered with hard shells, each of which was dozens of meters long, and their claws were as sharp as knives, flashing cold light. The crabs seemed to be very angry at the appearance of the three people. They opened their huge claws without hesitation and pounced on the three people. Each crab had unparalleled power, as if they wanted to tear the three people into pieces. The moment the giant crab appeared, the three people with perception abilities all reacted. Such a body size! It seems very suitable to be a summoning beast. Bing and Kingxi thought in their hearts at the same time. It can only be said that they are worthy of being the Mizukage and the person who is about to become the Mizukage, as their first reactions are exactly the same. "Yagura. Be careful to hold your hands back," Kingxi said lightly. He had no interest in taking action, so he might as well take the opportunity to see Yagura's strength after becoming the Three Tails Jinchuriki. Yagura was also eager to try. After becoming the Three Tails Jinchuriki, he had never fought an enemy in the true sense. Gulp. 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 Yagura ignored the crabs rushing towards him and clasped his hands together very calmly. A bubbling sound was heard and the deep red Three Tails chakra began to bubble on Yagura's body surface, and then gradually formed a relatively thin layer of tailed beast coat on his body. Water style, infinite isofuta cannonballs. Not far behind him, the water in the pool floated up under the control of Yagura's chakra, and then condensed into huge water bombs in mid-air, which then smashed towards the crabs like raindrops. On average, each crab faced at least 4 or 5 water bombs. With a Sanwei brand power bank, Yagura doesn't care about the consumption of chakra at all. His main focus is on extravagance and waste. Chapter 163. Soon, these crabs with the strength of Jonin were dizzy by Yagura's chakra-using style, and had no choice but to say GG. Under the overwhelming attack of Yagura's water bombs, the crabs were injured one after another and fell into coma before they had a chance to escape. Yagura still held back. He heard what Kyoji said and consciously controlled the power of the technique, which was just at the boundary between injury, coma, and death. After Yagura easily dealt with these crabs, the 3 of them walked towards the outside of the cave in the direction they sensed. Along the way, there were crystals extending vertically and horizontally everywhere. The 3 of them arrived at the entrance of the cave. The bright light coming in from the outside was refracted by the crystals, making the entire entrance of the cave appear exceptionally bright. Coming out of the cave, the 3 found themselves on a cliff. The view here was extremely broad, and they could overlook the mountains in the distance. The breeze blew on their faces, and they could almost hear the sound of waves hitting the sea. Yagura walked to the edge of the cliff carefully, his steps were light and cautious, and after he stood still, he slowly raised his head. He could not help but be amazed by the scene in front of him. The vast forest was in front of him, the trees were tall and dense, and the sun shone through the gaps between the leaves, casting mottled light and shadows. In the distance was a rippling lake, the lake water was clear and reflected the shadows of the sky and trees. Looking further away, there was the blue sky like a gem, forming a beautiful arc where it met the earth. Wait! Bing suddenly said, something is wrong. This is 11 out of 10 wrong. What? Kingxi and Yagura also reacted at this time. Oh my god, aren't they underground? How come the lake and forest in front of them are in the sky? And the sky and the earth are upside down, right? Look at that sun. Bing said in a strange tone, pointing at the sun in the sky that was emitting dazzling light, and said to Kingxi and Yagura, how can there be a sun underground? It seems that we are in a huge underground space inside the moon. This sun should also be an artificial sun. Yagura revealed the truth. Ching-si opened his pure eye and observed carefully. His expression suddenly became a little surprised, as if he had discovered something unexpected. In the pure eye's field of vision, the space around the sun in the sky was slightly distorted. This was not caused by the high temperature of the sun, but by a rather strange aura emanating from it, like an invisible barrier. When Ching-si gradually increased the output of his pupil power to penetrate it, although he still could not fully see the true situation of this sun, he could faintly see some blurred black shadows, which looked like the outline of a building. Continuing to look to the side, Kingxi discovered another moon, but it was daytime now, so the moon did not shine brightly, but was hidden nearby. This is an artificial sun, and there is a hidden moon nearby. Kingxi said solemnly, shocking Bing and Yagura as soon as he spoke, and inside the sun, there is a space. There is a barrier blocking the outside, so I can't see the situation inside clearly. I can only vaguely see some black shadows that look like buildings. I think the people living there should be the so-called Moon Otsutsuki clan. Bing gathered his emotions and asked, then how should we get there? And are there members of the Otsutsuki clan in other places? Kingxi shook his head, indicating that he was not sure. After thinking for a moment, he suggested, let's explore around first to see the situation. Unless they can fly, there must be a passage leading to the interior of the sun. Okay. Bing and Yagura nodded, agreeing with Kingxi's suggestion, and then the 3 of them chose a direction and started moving forward. Not long after, a fairly large town came into their sight. When Kingxi was far away from the town, about 10 kilometers away, he saw it through his pure eye. He had repeatedly confirmed with his pure eye that there was no sign of life in the town. The whole town was filled with a dilapidated and gloomy atmosphere, which made people feel depressed. Looking from a distance, the 3 people could tell that the town had been abandoned for at least several months. Entering the town, the 3 of them walked on the streets dominated by grey, white, and black, with dilapidated houses everywhere. Above the devastated streets, one could clearly see that there were deep and shallow knife and sword marks on the walls. The ground was covered with potholes formed by various ninjutsu, and various broken ninja tools were scattered everywhere. In addition, one could see some black marks formed by the dried blood that was spilled everywhere, as well as burnt brown marks that were obviously left after a fire. These marks seemed to tell that one or even multiple fierce life and death battles had taken place here. The 3 of them couldn't help but look a little uneasy. Apart from the Otsutsuki clan, the descendants of Otsutsuki Hamura, are there other families living on the moon? The three continued walking in the ruins, hoping to discover something. Suddenly, Kingsley's footsteps paused, and the Otsutsuki blood in his body felt a faint sense of calling, but this feeling was different from the last time. This sense of calling only caused some slight fluctuations in his blood, and it was not as strong as the last time. Bing and Yagura noticed that something was wrong with Kingsley, so they stopped and looked at Kingsley. Kingsley told the two that he felt the call of his bloodline, and then the two, led by Kingsley, walked in the direction where the call came from. Soon, the three of them arrived at the side of the town and saw a broken statue with only half of its body left. Next to the statue was a dark cave entrance, and the call that Kingsley felt came from the hole in front of him. After a slight hesitation, Ching Si confirmed that there was nothing unusual with his eyes, and then the three of them walked into the cave carefully. The cave was dark, with only a few faint lights coming in from the outside world, allowing them to barely see the road ahead. There was an eerie silence in the air, as if time had stopped here. The footsteps of the three were so light that they were almost inaudible, and only the barely audible breathing echoed in the air, adding a tense atmosphere to the whole environment. Chapter 164. For Ching Si, who possessed pure eyes, darkness had no effect on him. His sight could penetrate the endless darkness. In front of him was a vast and silent space, with countless coffins neatly arranged, each emitting a faint light, filling the entire space with a mysterious and solemn atmosphere. This is a vast underground cemetery. In the cemetery, there are scattered stone tablets everywhere. There are special patterns carved on the stone tablets, like an eye, with special lines inside, radiating from the center to 8 directions, like 2 shurikens staggered and stacked together. Kingsley recognized it at a glance. This is the family emblem of the Otsutsuki clan, so this must be the cemetery of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. Just after Kingsley and the other two entered the cemetery, a faint white light flashed at the entrance of the cave, accompanied by strange fluctuations, and rushed straight towards the sun in the sky. At this time, the three had already gone deep into the cemetery and did not notice the scene happening at the entrance of the cave. As they continued to move forward, the surrounding environment became more and more gloomy, and the air was filled with a strange atmosphere, which made people feel very depressed. Ching Si couldn't help but frown, although he didn't notice any danger here under his pure eyes. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind whistled past, making the corners of the three people's clothes rustle. A voice came suddenly. Kingsley, who heard the voice, instantly took a defensive posture, but Bing and Yagura next to him seemed to have heard nothing. We share the same bloodline. Inside the sun hanging high in the sky, there is a tall and majestic castle in the center. This castle is like a fine work of art, and every detail shows unparalleled luxury and exquisite craftsmanship. The walls of the castle are made of golden bricks and stones, shining with dazzling light. The windows are inlaid with crystal clear gems, emitting colorful brilliance through the refraction of sunlight. The roof of the castle is conical and covered with a layer of soft velvet, like a blooming flower. A ninja from the ninja world. An old and deep voice came from a hall inside the castle, and there was a sense of dominance in the tone. They actually found the cemetery of the main family. The originally gloomy castle also suddenly burst into an extremely dazzling halo at this moment. At the top of the core hall, a dark and cold metal door suddenly opened. The originally dim and dark hall suddenly burst into a dazzling light with this voice, like a dazzling pearl shining in the darkness. This light illuminated the entire castle, making the originally gloomy atmosphere brighter. At the same time, at the upper part of the hall, the door slowly opened. As the door opened, a powerful aura swept in like a real storm, bringing endless pressure. Then, 3 figures appeared at the door. They were 3 elderly men, with jade-like patterns on their necks. Although they closed their eyes, they exuded an indescribable majesty and momentum, and every move exuded nobility and elegance. Their bodies seemed to contain infinite energy, and every movement exuded a powerful aura. Following closely behind were several men and women of different ages, but their eyes were empty and black, giving people a weird and eerie feeling. There was also a strange aura emanating from these people, which echoed the aura of the 3 old men, creating a depressing atmosphere. When all these people walked into the hall, the puppets with stiff faces standing around the hall also began to move. These people dressed in white with empty eyes are the only remaining members of the Otsutsuki clan after the civil war on the moon. Grand Elder. A middle-aged Otsutsuki clan member spoke, with a hint of anxiety and uneasiness in his tone, "We can't let these evil people in the ninja world leave. Right now we don't have the ability to fully implement the will of our ancestors Hamura. That's right, big brother. The second elder named Otsutsuki Kazushiki also said anxiously, we lost too many clansmen in the war with the main family. Although we can now fight with the power of the great Samsara Eye, this is not enough for us to destroy the ninja world created by the six-path sage and then reset it, and recreate a world that our ancestors expected. That's right. There is also the Outer Path Demon statue. The Outer Path Demon statue that our clan has guarded for generations was stolen by those evil people in the ninja world when we were at war with the main family a few years ago. We can't let them go. There was a hint of anger in the tone of the third elder, Otsutsuki Tachibana. I know. Otsutsuki Hiroshiki said calmly. His old voice seemed to come from the depths of time, with an unspeakable vicissitude and calmness, like a clear spring flowing through everyone's heart, making people feel calm and at ease. This voice seemed to have a special magic, gradually calming the restlessness and anxiety in the hearts of the tribesmen. As the grand elder of the Otsutsuki clan's branch family on the moon, he is actually very helpless now. In the war with the main family, their branch family has always been at a disadvantage. In the end, all the members of the branch family sacrificed their Byakugan and merged them into a giant Rinnegan with enormous power, which enabled them to turn defeat into victory and successfully destroy the main family. Moreover, their branch family also paid an extremely painful price. Not only did the patriarch and elite members of the branch family all die in the battle, but most of the members also lost their lives because of insufficient strength or insufficient blood concentration, and they forcibly drove the giant Samsara Eye. In the end, when the war was over, only a dozen members headed by their three elders survived the entire branch family. Moreover, they all permanently lost their Byakugan due to the fusion of the giant Samsara Eye. And among these people, except for their three elders who could resonate with the giant Samsara Eye and thus use the power of the giant Samsara Eye to exert their own strength, the rest of the people suffered a sharp drop in combat effectiveness due to the loss of their Byakugan. Then, go! Otsutsuki Hiki ordered, and upon hearing his voice, all the puppets in the hall instantly knelt on one knee and bowed their heads to Otsutsuki Hiki, go and destroy all the evil people from the ninja world. There is no clear age for Otsutsuki Tonari in Naruto, so we can only speculate. In the original official novel of the last, it is said that Otsutsuki Tonari and his father had been to the ninja world. Although both of them had no eyes, they saw Hinata when she was a child through the unique way of the Otsutsuki clan, and thought Hinata was very cute, so they decided to wait until 10 years later to go to the ninja world to marry Hinata. So looking at this situation, Tonari should be a few years older than Hinata, but the age difference should not be particularly large, so at this point in time, it is highly likely that Otsutsuki Tonari has not been born yet. The Otsutsuki clan on the moon, the main family and the branch family had different ideas and a war broke out. In order to win, the people of the branch family contributed their eyes one after another. They merged countless Byakugan into one, forming a huge purple Rinnegan. When used, it would emit a dazzling purple light. After condensing the chakra, it could emit a terrifying beam of purple chakra light. In the end, with this, they destroyed the main family that advocated peace. After the civil war between the main family and its branches, the remaining branch families built a temple and named it Hamura Shrine, where the giant Samsara Eye was hidden, and then they would come to worship it at a fixed time every year. But there is a problem. In the animation, the colors of these two giant reincarnation eyes are different. The one that destroyed the main family is purple, and the one in the temple is yellow. I guess it may be that the main family's Byakugan was dug out and then integrated into it. Or is it that the color changes due to the continuous input of chakra? Or is it simply a bug in the animation? After all, the original comics are black and white. Moreover, the demise of the branch family was also very strange. After the civil war, there were still many people from the branch family left, but in the end, only one Otsutsuki Tonari was left, and the others all died inexplicably. Chapter 165. Bing and Yagura saw Kingsee's actions and looked at him strangely. Didn't you hear it? Kingsee was also confused. Was he the only one who could hear the sound just now? Kingsee carefully observed his surroundings, but sensed nothing, as if his perception had failed. He also did not detect any problems in his pure eye's vision. Pure blood from the same origin. At this time, the voice sounded again. This time, Bing and Yagura also heard it. The three of them turned around following the sound, and a figure appeared in front of them silently, not only avoiding their perception, but also avoiding Kingsee's pure eyes. With the faint light from the coffin, I looked carefully. The person in front of me, let's call him a human, was an extremely old man with his eyes closed, as if he had been sleeping for a long time. His skin was wrinkled and stuck to his body, as if it would fall off at any time, giving off a rotten smell. His clothes were ragged and worn out, as if he had experienced countless years of vicissitudes. The old man's body was twisted in a strange way, and he kept approaching the three people, while mechanically repeating the same words, "There is no mistake. This is the purest bloodline of our clan. Don't come over here!" Yagura shouted, interrupting the old man's chatter. He understood that this was probably directed at Kingsley. The old man seemed to have heard Yagura's shout, and slowly opened his eyes that had been tightly closed. Empty. The old man's eyes were empty. He had no eyes. At this moment, the old man suddenly showed a look of pain on his face, and fell to the ground weakly. At the same time, his mouth opened wide and spit out a translucent ball emitting white light. The light ball suddenly shone brightly, a dazzling white light flashed. Bing and Yagura lost their vision instantly, while Kingji, his pure eyes and the Otsutsuki blood in his body resonated with the light ball at the same time, and Kingji's mind appeared one memory after another. Kingsley suddenly realized that this seemed to be the source of the call he had just felt. War, fierce war. The flags of the sun and the moon flew high, each representing one side. The ninjas of these two sides, like two surging torrents, launched a fierce collision on the battlefield. They bet their lives and tried their best to win. Suddenly, a huge stone sphere appeared, emitting a dazzling purple light. As the light spread, wherever it touched on the battlefield, there was a series of earth-shaking explosions. Flames shot up to the sky, thick smoke billowed, and the sounds of explosions rose one after another, echoing through the sky. The battlefield, which was originally in the midst of a fierce battle, instantly turned into a purgatory-like scene. After the explosion, the smoke cleared, revealing the ground littered with shattered bodies. Blood dyed the ground red, and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. The entire battlefield was like a valley of death, terrifying. There are corpses everywhere. The scene then changed and turned into a scene similar to an underground cemetery. Ching Si stood here alone. All the coffins in front of him instantly lit up with soft white light. Phantom figures appeared next to the coffins, and then the coffins disappeared one after another. The figure in the front slowly walked towards Kingsley. "We are the descendants of Hamura, the main family of the Otsutsuki clan. We were destroyed by the branch family who distorted Hamura's destiny. They have been waiting for the birth of a clan member who can awaken the Samsara Eye, and then, with the power of the Samsara Eye and the giant Samsara Eye, they can control the moon to fall." Kingsley looked carefully and recognized the man who was speaking. His face was very similar to the old man who had just spit out the ball of light. "And the only one who can stop all this is you. You who possess the eyes of destiny and hope and share the same blood with us." As the words fell, all the figures knelt on one knee in unison, and the figure who had just spoken also respectfully stepped aside and bent down. An old figure slowly emerged, and then walked towards Kingsley step by step. The old man was wearing a white gown with a magadama-like pattern on his chest. Like Kingsley, he had two horns on his forehead. "This is Otsutsuki, Hamura." CG muttered to himself, "This kind of conversation. Is it a preset memory scene? This is already a time-related ability." Otsutsuki Hamura slowly spoke, "Younger generation who carries the eye of hope and destiny. You must not let the ninja world created by my brother go to destruction. A ghost with an obsession? Or something else?" Kingsley was shocked by this. He wondered if it was the strong obsession left by the head of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon before his death, causing his lingering soul to affect reality? Or was it some kind of memory picture with a prophetic nature? Chapter 166. Kingsley was a little confused about this, but soon he stopped thinking about it. After getting the information, he wanted to look for the giant Rinnegan that he had just seen in the memory picture. Kingsley had a mysterious intuition that the sense of summons he felt in the ninja world came from it. "This giant reincarnation eye is destined to be with me, Otsutsuki CG." The blinding white light gradually faded, and Bing and Yagura regained their sight. The old man struggled to get up from the ground, but at this moment, his head suddenly fell off, and his body suddenly lost support, and he collapsed to the ground like a puddle of mud. It turned out that this old man was actually a rather magical puppet. The old man's head fell off and rolled on the ground for several times. His mouth opened and closed, and a faint voice came out of it, "We must stop the Otsutsuki, the Otsutsuki." Finally, Everything returned to silence, and the puppet seemed to have lost power and stopped all movements. Looking at the scattered puppets in front of him, Kingsley remained silent. After a moment, Kingsley began to describe the memory scenes he had just seen to Bing and Yagura beside him. From Kingsley's description, Bing and Yagura also learned relevant information about the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. The third Mizukage Bing lowered his head and thought for a while, then asked Kingsley, "So, this Samsara Eye is the advanced version of the Byakugan?" Then he sighed, "I never thought that the Byakugan could evolve like the Sharingan. Can Seiji's pure eye also evolve like the Byakugan?" Yagura asked curiously. "Yes, in fact, the Kagaya clan also has relevant records about this. The ultimate power that was born from the Kagaya clan's physique with sufficient blood concentration and the Hyuga clan's Byakugan with sufficient purity should refer to the Rin-Egan." Kingsley recalled the secrets he saw on the scroll that recorded the secrets and history of the Kagaya clan from his grandfather Yuanchi. Originally, he thought that the so-called ultimate power referred to Kagaya Otsutsuki's blood, but he didn't expect that the ultimate power would ultimately refer to the Rin-Egan. In fact, it is no wonder that Seiji got it wrong, because there is an information bias here. In the memory left by Otsutsuki Ishiki, Otsutsuki Hamura has never demonstrated the power of the Samsara Eye. He has always used the Byakugan, which led Seiji to have such a misunderstanding before. Moreover, whether it is Seiji's pure eye or Otsutsuki Ishiki's black eye, in the final analysis they are all a variation of the Byakugan, and not like the Samsara Eye which is an advanced form of the Byakugan. But think about it, among the descendants of Otsutsuki Hago Romo, the sage body of the Senju clan plus the sage eyes of the Uchiha clan, or the power of Ashura plus the power of Indra, gave birth to the power of the six paths, which is the Rin-Egan. Then in the same situation, the descendants of Otsutsuki Hamura, the sage body of the Kagaya clan plus the sage eyes of the Hyuga clan, should have given birth to the power of Hamura that is equal to the power of the six paths, which is the Rin-Egan. However, in the long history of the ninja world for thousands of years, the Senju and Uchiha have both had sage bodies and sage eyes due to the continuous reincarnation of Ashura and Indra's chakra, but the Kagaya and Hyuga clans have never had a sage body and sage eyes that can combine with the power of Hamura. Actually, I was originally thinking of finding an opportunity to visit the Hyuga clan in Konoha village. According to the records of the Kagaya clan, the Hyuga clan's Byakugan may have a promoting effect on my bloodline. But now, there is a better choice. I have a strong premonition that the giant Rin-Egan that condenses almost all the blood power of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon can allow my bloodline to complete a complete transformation. Kingsley continued, and his tone became hot when he mentioned the giant Rin-Egan. The memory scenes seen from the white light ball really made Kingsley very happy. He never expected that the lunar Otsutsuki clan had a civil war a few years ago and created a giant Rin-Egan. What's more important is that there are not many people left in the lunar Otsutsuki clan now. Not to mention, this already formed giant Rin-Egan can do him much more good than the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan or the Byakugan of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. All I can say is that it is better to arrive at the right time than to arrive early. If he really runs into the moon Otsutsuki clan, whose main family and branches are all still there and are at their peak, then even if he brings the entire mist village with him, the result will be unknown. Let's go. Let's go meet this so-called Otsutsuki clan of the moon. Bing made a decision. Since Kingsley said that the giant Samsara Eye would be useful to him, and there were only a few big cats and small cats of the Otsutsuki clan of the moon, then just snatch it away. As the third Mizukage of the hidden mist village, he always believed in speaking with fists and strength. After saying that, Bing turned around and walked towards the exit of the underground cemetery, followed by Kingsley and Yagura. At the entrance of the cemetery, the three of them were bombarded with overwhelming force as soon as they walked a short distance away. A large number of bird and beast puppets were floating in the sky, and on the bird and beast puppets stood one after another human puppets. They were the puppet ninja troops sent by the head of the branch of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon, Otsutsuki Hishi, to destroy Seiji and his men. The puppet ninja troops covered the entire sky, and under the shining of the artificial sun in the sky, they were shining with the unique cold luster of metal. In an instant, countless chakra light bullets attacked Kingji, Bing, and Yagura on the ground. In fact, the three of them were a little careless. Although they all had strong perception abilities, the puppet ninjas sent by the Otsutsuki clan on the moon would not produce any chakra aura before launching an attack, and the attack was launched from the sky. Therefore, when the three people noticed the violent chakra fluctuations, it was actually a little late. The attack had already arrived, so the three people could only leave the place instantly to avoid the first wave of attacks from the air. These are actually puppets. Kingsley, who dodged instantly, couldn't help but sigh. He didn't expect that the extremely weakened Moon Otsutsuki clan actually had this kind of technology. The memory screen he just saw didn't have any information about this. Moreover, according to his observation, the strength of these puppet ninjas is not weak at all. At least they all have the strength of a jonin, and many of them have the strength of an elite jonin. This technology is much stronger than that of the Sand Village. It doesn't even require chakra lines to control it. The third Mizukage Bing, with his powerful perception ability, instantly discovered the clue and also exclaimed in admiration. Chapter 167. Roar. Yagura did not say anything, but after dodging the attack, he instantly entered the state of the tailed beast coat. His body was completely covered by a layer of light red three tails chakra. At the same time, he let out a deafening roar under the blessing of chakra. This roar was accompanied by powerful force and produced a ripple-shaped chakra wave. The air wave spread rapidly around Yagura, sweeping through like a storm. The bird and beast puppets in the sky and the puppet ninjas on them were all shaken by the air wave, and a cloud of dust was also raised around the ground. The battle broke out in an instant. Yagura took the lead in launching a counterattack. Whether it was Kingsley, Bing, or himself, they were all experts in water jutsu, so there was no need to worry about chakra consumption. As the Three Tails Jinchuriki, Yagura first had to create a strong combat environment for the three of them. Water style, Isabu waterfall. Endless water flowed out of Yagura's mouth, and in the blink of an eye, a huge lake was formed. When Kingsley and Bing saw Yagura use the water escape technique, they instantly understood Yagura's intention, so they also launched an attack. Kingsley put his hands together and his chakra burst out instantly. Under the influence of Kingsley's chakra, the surrounding water began to spin around Kingsley wildly. Water escape water formation pillar. A vortex-shaped water column appeared, surrounding Kingsley and continuously spreading to the surroundings. The puppet ninjas in the nearby sky who had no time to escape and the bird and beast puppets under their feet were all sucked into it by the suction generated by the water column, and then shattered into pieces. While Ching Si was doing it, Bing was also busy, his hands were dancing rapidly, changing his style quickly. You like to use chakra light bullets to carpet bomb the ground, right? Then I will give you a super double backhand. Ice escape, ice breaking flying blade. Water droplets continued to float up, and then instantly froze in midair, forming the shape of ice blades. Then, countless ice blades, under the control of ice, launched intensive saturation attacks on the bird and beast puppets in the sky. Under the sharp counterattack of the three men, puppets kept falling from the sky to the ground. Although the puppets sent by Otsutsuki Hayes Hiki were numerous, they were no match for the three men who were serious about it. Under the ninjutsu attacks of the three men, they were as fragile as paper and broke at the slightest touch. Inside the artificial sun, in the castle hall of the Otsutsuki clan, the clan members of the branch family were watching the battle below in their own unique way. Seeing that the number of puppet ninjas they sent out was constantly decreasing, the hot-tempered third elder Otsutsuki Tachibana could not help himself. Brother. Otsutsuki Tachibana could not help but speak. He knew that his elder brother Otsutsuki Hayes Hiki could understand what he meant. Although those puppet ninjas created by the power of the giant reincarnation I had the strength of the ninja world's jonin or even elite jonin, it was obvious that they were no match for the three evil people from the ninja world below. When these puppet ninjas were first created, backdoors were left in them. Therefore, Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki, who can communicate with the giant Rinnegan and borrow its power to a certain extent, can log in remotely to play as a substitute. The great elder Otsutsuki Hayes Hiki knew what Otsutsuki Tachibana wanted to do. After a brief thought and feeling that there was nothing wrong with it, he nodded slowly, agreeing with Otsutsuki Tachibana's approach. Just when Kingsley, Bing and Yagura were frantically destroying the puppet ninjas who dared to attack them, a puppet on the right side of Yagura was wrapped in a layer of bright yellow chakra in the blink of an eye. Its momentum suddenly rose steadily, and soon it was comparable to Yagura who was fighting with the power of the three tails. Otsutsuki Tachibana communicated with the giant Samsara Eye and came with its power. Feeling the sudden powerful aura of the puppet ninja, the three of them were suddenly shocked, but Otsutsuki Tachibana would not give them time to defend themselves. Under his control, the puppet ninja stretched out his right hand and aimed at Yagura, who was closest to him. A huge yellow chakra light ball appeared in front of his palm, and then with a slight push, the chakra light ball rushed towards Yagura at a strange speed that looked slow but was actually very fast. Not good. Looking at the oncoming chakra ball, Yagura's face changed and he couldn't help but feel a little frightened. He could sense the enormous power contained in the chakra ball, but he didn't have time to think about it. He quickly formed hand seals and wanted to use ninjutsu to resist this chakra ball that exuded a fascinating aura. Water style, water mirror. However, when he had just finished the seal and the water mirror had not yet been fully formed, the chakra ball had already appeared in front of him. Boom! With a loud bang, the chakra ball exploded, forming a powerful shock wave that blew Yagura away. Yagura! Seeing this, Kingxi and Bing rushed forward to check Yagura's injuries. Yagura was lying on the ground. Even with the protection of the tailed beast coat, the chakra light ball that exploded close to his face still caused Yagura to suffer a lot of internal force, and blood kept flowing out of the corner of his mouth. Damn it! This guy actually attacked me by surprise. But this puppet is so powerful. Yagura struggled to get up from the ground, looking at the puppet ninja in front of him, his eyes filled with anger. At this time, the puppet ninja's mouth began to open and close continuously, and under the remote control of Otsutsuki Tachibana, it made a mechanical voice, "I am Otsutsuki Tachibana, the third elder of the Otsutsuki clan. Evil people from the ninja world, be prepared to face punishment." Sanctions? Humph! Kingxi snorted coldly when he heard Otsutsuki Tachibana's boasting. Hamura's will was distorted to the extreme by these branch family members. However, he was too lazy to communicate with these eyes on top of their heads of the Moon Otsutsuki clan. Kingxi had no interest in stopping the branch family's actions, but since they dared to take action against them first, then he might as well do it. Otsutsuki Tachibana controlled the puppet ninja and attacked fiercely. A bright yellow chakra beam shot out from the artificial sun in the sky and merged into the body of the puppet ninja. It was the power of the giant Rinnegan. The puppet ninja, who had been replenished with power, had yellow chakra beads appear on his arms. Then these chakra beads shone brightly. Under Otsutsuki Tachibana's control, the Rinnegan chakra quickly covered them, and the beads began to rotate rapidly, forming sharp shurikens. Chapter 168. Rosary Shuriken. Endless chakra shurikens shot towards Kingxi and the other two. Looking at this overwhelming attack, the three of them looked at each other without changing their expressions. Then Yagura took a step forward and quickly formed seals with both hands. This time he had enough time to defend himself. Water Release Water Mirror Technique. With the blessing of the Three Tails Chakra, the scale of the water mirror is much larger than usual. A huge water mirror appeared in front of Yagura in the blink of an eye. Then Yagura quickly pulled out the coral stick behind him. The hook on the coral stick hooked the huge water mirror in front of him and pulled it back hard. The water mirror was tilted at 45 degrees to face the dense chakra shurikens that were attacking. Then chakra shurikens of the same size emerged from the water mirror and started to bombard Otsutsuki Tachibana's attack. Chakra shurikens kept colliding in the air, making a deafening noise. In the castle hall, Otsutsuki Tachibana, who was controlling the puppet ninja, showed a surprised expression on his face. He didn't expect that the ninjutsu of the ninja world had developed so much that it could resist his attack through this strange copying method. But he didn't stop his actions, but continued to increase the intensity of his attack. The chakra shuriken became more dense and fierce, and continued to rain down like raindrops. At the same time, Otsutsuki Tachibana continued to communicate with the giant Samsara Eye. He needed more power. The puppet ninja's body was somewhat overwhelmed and made a creaking sound. The force it carried had reached its limit at this time, but this was enough for Otsutsuki Tachibana, as it was enough to support him to launch another powerful attack. Rosary Light Cannon. The puppet ninja slowly stretched out his left hand, and chakra beads gradually emerged in his palm. The surface of these beads was covered with a layer of light golden light, which was the unique power fluctuation of the reincarnation eye chakra. As the puppet ninja moved, countless beads gushed out from his palm like a rainstorm, as if forming a dense laser rain, sweeping towards the three people on the ground. Each rosary contained powerful chakra, and they flew rapidly in the air, producing a harsh whistling sound when rubbing against the air. Lord Mizukage! Kingxi shouted softly. Under the observation of the pure eye, he could clearly see that there was almost no bright yellow chakra left in the puppet ninja's body. Ice Release, Ice Crystal Wall. Bing understood what Kingxi meant, and formed seals with his hands, directly condensing the water mirror displayed by Yagura, turning it into a huge ice wall, temporarily defending against all attacks from Otsutsuki Tachibana. However, this is the power of the giant Rinnegan after all. Although it is exerted with the help of a puppet ninja, its power is not something that ordinary defensive ninjutsu can withstand. The ice wall was shattered after lasting for 3 breaths. But it was at the moment when the ice wall was shattered that King C seized the opportunity to attack. Water style, water break wave. King C put his hands together and spit out a sharp high-pressure water stream that was compressed to the extreme. At the moment the ice wall broke, it shot directly at the puppet ninja in the air who was under the control of Otsutsuki Tachibana. Seeing this, Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki immediately released the remaining chakra in the puppet ninja to defend, trying to resist the attack. However, Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki underestimated Kyoshi's attack, and the water cut wave instantly broke through the defense and passed through the chest. Then, under Kyoshi's control, the water cut wave moved horizontally, and the puppet ninja was instantly cut in half. Don't think it's the end. You can't get away. Otsutsuki Tachibana said harshly, then gave up control of the destroyed puppet ninja. However, just when Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki wanted to communicate with the giant Samsara Eye again and descend again, CG and the other two did not give him any chance. They quickly destroyed all the few remaining puppet ninjas. Ching Si had learned the way to the artificial sun from the memory images left by the Zong family. In addition to using bird and beast puppets to fly and then using special seals to open the outer barrier of the artificial sun, the Zong family also left a space channel inside the artificial sun when it was first built, which could directly transmit inside and outside. Ching Si now knew the location of that channel. Inside the castle hall, Otsutsuki Tachibana's face turned gloomy, and a hint of anger flashed in his eyes. After all, he was controlling the device remotely, and was attacking from a distance. The power borrowed from the giant Rinnegan could not be fully utilized. Failed. The voice of the great elder Otsutsuki Hishi came, his tone without any fluctuation, as if it had been expected. I'm sorry, big brother. I failed. Otsutsuki Tachibana's anger calmed down a little, but he still said stubbornly, but this is because I only exerted 1/3 of my strength, and the strength of those 3 evil people is also very strong, at the level of our ordinary tribesmen. At this time, Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki had not yet realized the seriousness of the matter, and he had misjudged the strength of CG and the other two. Although he lost his eyes and could sense the outside world through the unique way of the Otsutsuki clan, which had no impact on his combat and life, he could not see after all. If he could see Seiji's appearance that was similar to his ancestor Otsutsuki Hamura, and Seiji's pure eye, he probably would not or dared not say such words. Otsutsuki Hiroshiki was silent for a moment and did not respond. After a while, he began to arrange the follow-up actions. Second brother. Transfer the rest of the tribesmen to the temple first. Next, the 3 of us will stay here and wait for the arrival of the 3 evil men. The second elder, Otsutsuki Kazushiki, responded and then led the tribesmen to the Hamura temple. Except for the 3 elders, the other tribesmen were unable to communicate with the giant Samsara Eye. Without the Byakugan, they would be a burden in the next battle. Letting them move was also a way to protect them. After all, these young tribesmen were the future of the Moon Otsutsuki clan. Otsutsuki Hiroshiki sighed softly, and then said, then the battle can only be carried out here. Only here can we use the giant reincarnation eye to fully exert our strength. Just now, Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki has demonstrated that remotely controlling the puppet ninjas or sending out puppet ninja troops to attack cannot pose a threat to CG and the other two, so the battle can only take place here. However, Otsutsuki Hiki did not think that the 3 of them would lose to CG and his 3 in a normal battle. He had some understanding of the combat power of the ninja world. The 2 descendants of the 6 paths, Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha, who were so strong that even the Otsutsuki clan on the moon were amazed, were no longer there. At this stage in the ninja world, there was no ninja who could contend with the power of the giant Samsara Eye. 3 on 3, the advantage is on my side. Chapter 169. After dealing with the puppet ninja troops sent by Otsutsuki Hiki, Kiyoshi, Bing and Yagura sat cross-legged on the spot and began to recover the chakra they had just consumed. Soon, Kingsley recovered, stood up, and began to walk around. He kept looking for puppet fragments scattered on the ground to see if there were any parts that were not completely destroyed. The sophistication of these puppets far exceeds that of the ordinary puppets of the Sand Village, although they cannot be compared with the special puppets of the White Secret Technique. After all, the puppets that perform the White Secret Technique are specially made with special materials and special techniques. However, special puppets like the White Secret Technique cannot be mass-produced, and one is consumed at a time. But looking at the way the Otsutsuki clan on the moon use these puppet ninjas are completely mass-produced. Not to mention, these puppet ninjas do not require chakra lines to control them and can fight independently. This is very meaningful for the Hidden Mist village. Moreover, puppets themselves have no feelings, neither pain nor fear. On the battlefield, ninjas may wisely choose to temporarily retreat to save themselves according to the difference in strength between the two sides, but puppets will not have such concerns or retreat. Not to mention that if there are enough puppet ninjas, and the enemy's single strength does not reach a certain level, the human wave tactics are very terrifying. Even a shadow-level strongman will be defeated by a large number of jonins. Even ants can kill elephants. If they could obtain the technology to make this kind of puppet, the Hidden Mist village would be equivalent to having a lot more jonin-level combat forces out of thin air. Suddenly, Kingsley felt that his consciousness uncontrollably entered a special spiritual world. Before he could react, Bing and Yagura, who looked confused, appeared beside him. Then, an old soul appeared in front of the three of them. The soul body floated cross-legged in front of the three people. On its forehead was a pair of horns that were very similar to Kingsley's. It was dressed in a white robe with 6 black magadama-shaped patterns embroidered on the chest. A pitch-black tin staff was placed horizontally on its crossed legs. The most eye-catching thing is the white eyes in his pupils. They look just ordinary white eyes, but they constantly emit a frightening breath of pupil power in this spiritual world. This deep and mysterious fluctuation is as vast and boundless as the endless starry sky. In comparison, Qingxi's pure eyes seem a little eclipsed and are far from being comparable. Looking at the familiar face in front of him that he had just seen not long ago, Kingsley was confused. What was going on? Was this the soul of Otsutsuki Hamura? However, Kiyoshi reacted in a flash. In the memories left by Otsutsuki Ishiki, although he did not know that the six-path sage Otsutsuki Hago Romo was still alive and well in the Pure Land, Kiyoshi, who had the memories of his previous life, knew about it. Although Kiyoshi did not understand the plot of Naruto, he had seen a lot of video clips of the Fourth Ninja World War. Therefore, he certainly knew that the six-path sage was not really dead, and he often spied on the ninja world in the Pure Land from time to time. Then, as the six-path sage's younger brother, Otsutsuki Hamura, whose strength also reached the six paths level, there was no reason for him to die easily. Not to mention that in the memory scenes left by the main family, Otsutsuki Hamura appeared at the end. It is obvious that the remains of the main family were left behind during the civil war of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon not long ago. So where did the image of Otsutsuki Hamura come from? It can't be that Otsutsuki Hamura predicted this scene 1,000 years ago, that would be too ridiculous. The Otsutsuki clan does not have such an outrageous predictive ability. Therefore, it is obvious that Otsutsuki Hamura, like the six-path sage, is not completely dead, but is still alive and sleeping inside the moon. With his ability, it is easy for him to add himself to the memory picture left by the main family. Therefore, when Kingsley saw the soul of Otsutsuki Hamura appear, he was surprised for a moment. Then, Kingsley's brainstorming quickly connected all the information and came to the above conclusion. The third Mizukage Bing and Karatagi Yagura were not like Kiyoshi. Looking at Otsutsuki Hamura's facial features that were exactly the same as Kiyoshi's, many speculations emerged in their minds. Although Kiyoshi just mentioned to them that he had seen a memory scene in which Otsutsuki Hamura appeared, the one in front of them was a living soul. Therefore, neither of them dared to guess that it was Otsutsuki Hamura. After all, he was a person who lived thousands of years ago. All I can say is that being able to survive for 1,000 years is indeed a bit too outrageous for Bing and Yagura, two ninjas who can only be considered ordinary in the ninja world. After hesitating for a while, although Kingsley didn't know what Otsutsuki Hamura meant, he didn't feel any malice from the soul of Otsutsuki Hamura in front of him. In addition, he believed that Otsutsuki Hamura, as his ancestor, would not have any intention of murdering him. Therefore, he still respectfully saluted to the soul of Hamura, Ancestor Hamura. When Kingsley said this, Bing and Yagura, who were still guessing, were suddenly shocked. They didn't expect that the soul in front of them was actually Otsutsuki Hamura, the younger brother of the legendary six-path sage. The soul body nodded slightly to Kingsley and Bing and Yagura, who were still in shock, acknowledging in front of the three that his identity was indeed Otsutsuki Hamura. Suddenly, the soul body of Otsutsuki Hamura frowned slightly, as if he had sensed something, and then he looked dazed. Then he waved in the direction of Yagura, and a small three-tailed fox suddenly appeared on Yagura's shoulder, with a hint of confusion in its one eye. The soul of Otsutsuki Hamura was originally sleeping under the cemetery of the main family of the Otsutsuki clan. The last time he woke up, he felt the breath emitted when Seiji's pure eye awakened. Otsutsuki Hamura followed an intuition about fate and separated a very weak mental power before falling asleep again. This separated mental power finally coincidentally merged into the memory picture left by the main family, forming words similar to a prophecy, which is what Seiji saw. Chapter 170. This time, Otsutsuki Hamura woke up from his slumber because Seiji and the other two had just fought with Otsutsuki Haishi's puppet ninja troops. The battle took place near the entrance of the cemetery, not far from where Otsutsuki Hamura was sleeping, so it awakened the sleeping soul of Hamura. As soon as Otsutsuki Hamura woke up, his tremendous mental and soul power instantly swept across the entire moon, and he instantly understood what had happened on the moon over the years. When he learned that the lunar Otsutsuki clan he left behind had basically disappeared due to the civil war, he couldn't help but sigh deeply. He had already noticed the clues when he woke up last time. At that time, the lunar Otsutsuki clan had fallen into civil strife, and the main family and the branch family were constantly fighting each other. He had a premonition that a tragic decisive battle would eventually break out between these descendants. However, when he saw that there were only a dozen people left in the lunar Otsutsuki clan, Otsutsuki Hamura's heart, which had long been calm, still twitched slightly. After all, they are all his blood descendants, and his personality is not like that of his brother, the six-path sage Tsutsuki Hago Romo. You can call him Buddhist or cold. He is clearly still paying attention to the development of the ninja world in the Pure Land, and he has the power to interfere in the world, but he never takes action. He watches his two sons, Indra and Ashura, constantly reincarnate in the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan through chakra, and continue to love and kill each other for thousands of years. Therefore, when he sensed that there were 3 little guys from the ninja world on the moon, and among them was the descendant of the one who had awakened the pure eye that he noticed when he woke up last time, Otsutsuki Hamura didn't think much about it, and directly pulled the consciousness of Seiji and the other 2 into this spiritual space. After pulling the 3 people in, Otsutsuki Hamura quickly sensed the aura of the tailed beast on Yagura, and after further perception, he discovered the existence of the 3-tailed Isobuki, so he pulled the consciousness of the 3-tailed Isobuki in with a wave of his hand. Isobu. Otsutsuki Hamura said softly, awakening the still confused 3 tails, it's been 1,000 years since we last saw each other. After hearing Hamura's voice, the 3-tailed Isobu woke up. Looking at the soul of Otsutsuki Hamura in front of it, endless waves were set off in its heart, the old man's brother. Otsutsuki Hamura. As a part of the 10 tails separated from Kagaya Otsutsuki by the 6-path sage Otsutsuki Hago Romo, the 3 tails Isobushi certainly knew Otsutsuki Hamura, who sealed Kagaya Otsutsuki together with Otsutsuki Hago Romo, and they could be considered to be barely familiar with each other. Isofu? Is this the name of the 3-tail? Yagura couldn't help but think to himself when he heard this. Although Seiji told him that the tailed beasts also have their own names, Seiji did not tell him what the specific name of the 3-tail is. Because Kyoji knew that it would be best to let Yagura communicate with the 3 tails himself. When he could learn the 3 tails name from the 3 tails, that would be the time when he could become the perfect 3 tails Jinchuriki. Yes. It's been 1,000 years. After calming down his inner shock, Sanwei Isobu replied. After being sealed into Yagura's body, it learned some information from Yagura and also knew the identity of Seiji Otsutsuki clan. Although in return, it allowed Yagura to borrow some of its chakra in battle, but it still had some doubts and uncertainties about this information. After all, apart from seeing the appearance of Seiji who had fought with him, it had not seen other information with its own eyes. However, the Otsutsuki Hamura in front of him gave it a chance to confirm it. I have a question for you. Isobu asked Otsutsuki Hamura directly. Yagura told me. The old man's descendants have awakened the same samsara eye as the old man. So what about the body of that thing? Has it been unsealed? When Seiji, who was standing by, heard this, he immediately understood how Yagura was able to partially use the power of the 3 tails. After all, it was Uchiha Madara who had told Yagura that he had the Rinnegan. Bing was a little confused listening on the side. He could understand the first half of the sentence, but he was a little confused about the seal and so on in the latter part. After all, Kingxi had only briefly told them that Uchiha Madara had awakened the Rinnegan, and the Rinnegan was now in their Kirigakure, on the body of Nagato, the disciple brought back by Kingxi. However, Kingsley did not say anything about the origins of the nine-tailed beasts, the outer path demon statue, or the 10 tails. After all, revealing information should be done gradually, and there is no rush for them to know the information about the 10 tails at this stage. But now, since the 3-tailed beast's Isabu has asked about it, let Otsutsuki Hamura tell it. Yes. That's right. It's no longer on the moon. Otsutsuki Hamura said calmly, it should be almost 10 years. I don't know much about the Samsara Eye. But the outer path statue is indeed no longer on the moon. I guess it must have been summoned away by the Samsara Eye as you said. After all, only the power of the Samsara Eye, which originated from my brother, can resonate with the outer path statue. The Rinnegan is in the Hidden Mist village now. When you go back, you can ask Yagura to take you to see it. Kyoshi interrupted at this time. He felt that this was an opportunity for Yagura to become a perfect Jinchuriki. Kagaya Otsutsuki's 10 tails had been separated into 9-tailed beasts under the yin-yang release of the 6-path sage Otsutsuki Hago Romo, becoming 9 different individuals. Then, presumably, one of them, the 3-tailed beast, Isabu, would never be willing to return to the outer path statue again, lose his own consciousness, and be reintegrated into the 10 tails at the cost of his own existence. Sanwei Isabu didn't say anything else. After getting confirmation from Otsutsuki Hamura, there was a gleam of thought in Sanwei Isabu's one eye, and his heart was a little confused at this time. Although the tailed beasts cannot be killed and can be resurrected even if they die, now that the outer path statue and the Rinnegan have appeared, it is no longer a question of being killed. In front of the outer path statue, its life is already under fatal threat. They don't want to be fused into the 10 tails again. Once they are fused into the 10 tails again, they will be dead in the true sense. This is the common fear of the 9-tailed beasts. In comparison, being beaten up by Bing or Kingsley, being sealed into Yagura's body and losing freedom, these are simply trivial matters not worth mentioning in the face of real-life threats. Chapter 171. What is the outer path golem? What is the seal? Bing asked at this time. He was confused and eager to get more information. Then let's start from the beginning. Otsutsuki Hamura smiled kindly at the 3 people and 1 beast, without any expression of impatience, and then began to tell the story. In the ancient times thousands of years ago, there was no such power as chakra in the ninja world. Otsutsuki Hamura's voice echoed in this spiritual space, narrating the origin of chakra in full. My brother and I finally worked together to seal my mother inside the moon, and my mother's 10 tails was also sealed inside my brother's body, becoming the 10 tails Jinchuriki. Later, my brother founded the ninja clan and popularized chakra in the ninja world, which led to the existence of today's ninjas. My brother was therefore honored as the ancestor of ninjas, the sage of 6 paths. My brother was worried that the 10 tails was too powerful, and that its incomparable strength might bring disaster to the ninja world in the future. Therefore, he divided the 10 tails and created the 9-tailed beasts that you are familiar with now. The body of the 10 tails that was left after all the chakra was extracted was the outer path demon statue. The outer path demon statue is actually a container of chakra. When the dispersed chakra gathers inside the outer path demon statue again, the 10 tails will be resurrected again. Afterwards, in order to ensure that the seal of my mother would not be broken, I moved my people to the moon and brought the outer path golem with me. After arranging everything, after my death, my soul fell into a deep sleep, but I didn't expect that the will I left behind would be misinterpreted. My original intention was to protect the ninja world created by my brother, but for some reason, my descendants misinterpreted it as ending the ninja world created by my brother. Bing and Yagura listened attentively to these secrets that they knew little about before, and were fascinated. The 2, who had been shocked by Kingsley many times, were now accustomed to any outrageous things that happened, so they just listened quietly to Otsutsuki Hamura's story. Kyoshi had some understanding of all of this, but he still listened carefully to Otsutsuki Hamura's story, constantly corroborating it with Otsutsuki Ishiki's memories. Ancestor Hamura. Kingsley interrupted Otsutsuki Hamura's story, but it was almost over now. I am also an Otsutsuki now, not the degraded bloodline of the Moon Otsutsuki clan, but an Otsutsuki like my ancestors and the 6-path sage. I know. Otsutsuki Hamura nodded as expected. He could sense that the blood in Kyoshi's body was already heading towards the level of his mother Otsutsuki Kagaya, not to mention that Kyoshi also had the pure eye, which was rare in the Otsutsuki clan. If it wasn't for the true blood of the Otsutsuki clan that could cross the starry sky, it would be impossible for him to awaken the pure eye. Then here comes the question. I can feel that as my blood becomes increasingly purified, my lifespan is also increasing. As a member of the pure Otsutsuki clan, the lifespan should be very long, but why do our ancestors and the six-path sage have such short lifespans? Kingxi asked his doubts. Indeed, Otsutsuki Kagaya, who ate the chakra fruit produced by the sacred tree, can be said to be immortal, so the brothers Hago Romo and Hamura could only seal her in the end. Although Otsutsuki Ishiki had never eaten the chakra fruit, he also lived for thousands of years. However, as the sons of Otsutsuki Kagaya, Otsutsuki Hago Romo and Otsutsuki Hamura died early, and they died of old age, which was a ridiculous way for the Otsutsuki clan. It was obviously unreasonable. Also, what is your current condition? Do you still have the ability to influence the real world? And since the ancestor is still alive, the six-path sage must still be here. At this point, Kingxi suddenly remembered the video of the six-path sage selling cheats to Naruto and Sasuke, which he often saw in his previous life. After hearing Kingxi's question, Otsutsuki Hamura fell silent. After a while, he answered, "My brother and I's lifespan is not as long as you said or imagined. This involves the birth method of the Otsutsuki clan." Kyoji looked at Otsutsuki Hamura with burning eyes, waiting for his further answer. He was very concerned about this matter. After all, it was related to his subsequent series of plans. He planned to plant trees in the ninja world. Although he had no idea about turning all humans into white Zetsu, he did not want to stand on the opposite side of the Six Paths brothers because of the tree planting issue. After all, in the limited plot he knew, the Six Paths sage interfered with the ninja world to some extent because of the resurrection of Kagaya Otsutsuki. Although he did not do it himself, he gave the power to Naruto and Sasuke, which was almost the same as doing it himself. If the Six Paths brothers really interfered with his tree planting, Kingxi was not confident that he could withstand the malice from the Six Paths brothers. After Otsutsuki Kagaya revived, what she wanted to do was basically the same as what Kyoji wanted to do in the future. Although Kyoji believed that his methods were definitely much gentler than the Otsutsuki Kagaya he knew, in essence, there was no difference. Therefore, Kyoji must first confirm Otsutsuki Hamura's attitude towards this. "My brother and I are relatively special Otsutsuki. We are Otsutsuki born with the blessing of the ninja world and humans." Otsutsuki Hamura opened his mouth with a king bomb, "Although my brother and I have inherited a part of our mother's power, that's all. Our lifespans are not as long as those of normal Otsutsuki. We are just like humans, and we will grow old, get sick, and die. So, my brother and I are really dead. However, although our bodies are dead, we have reached the strength of the Six Paths, which allows us to have eternal souls. Moreover, in the ninja world, there is a special place called the Pure Land. After the people in the ninja world die, their bodies will disappear, but their souls will be attracted to the Pure Land and enter it to wait for the next reincarnation." Otsutsuki Hamura told the truth, and also explained the operating mechanism of the Pure Land to the people present. The birth of the Six Paths brothers adopts the setting of the comics. Chapter 172. However, for ordinary people, once they step into this Pure Land, their souls will soon dissipate and directly enter the reincarnation of the next life. But it is different for ninjas. The souls of ninjas are much stronger than those of ordinary people. Relying on their own powerful soul power, they can try to preserve their souls for a long time in the Pure Land. And the stronger the strength, the longer their soul can last. Otsutsuki Hamura revealed the truth about the Pure Land. Take him as an example. Otsutsuki Hamura looked at the third Mizukage Bing. If he dies, after his soul is attracted to the Pure Land, as long as he doesn't want to dissipate, his soul can exist in the Pure Land for at least a few hundred years without the need for reincarnation. And when the soul power is exhausted, that is the true end of a person. When Kingxi heard this, his heart skipped a beat. So, his father Genji's soul still existed in the Pure Land. But Kingxi quickly calmed down his restless heart. The most important thing now was to communicate with Otsutsuki Hamura. "So, for me and my brother, with our strength and soul power, we can basically say that we have a nearly eternal soul lifespan. Moreover, if we are willing to consume a certain amount of soul power, we can also forcibly appear in the ninja world. However, my strength is slightly inferior to my brother's, and it is still quite difficult for me to interfere with reality." After hearing this, Kingxi fell silent. Difficult, not impossible, that is to say, if a certain price is paid, Otsutsuki Hamura can also interfere with reality, not to mention the more powerful six-path sage Otsutsuki Hago Romo. The six-path sage must have the ability to interfere with reality. However, I and my brother will not interfere with the ninja world easily, you can rest assured. Otsutsuki Hamura seemed to have seen something, and looked at Kingsley meaningfully, then said meaningfully, the reason why I chose to seal Mother with my brother was not to oppose the sacred tree, but to oppose Mother's worship of the sacred tree. We just wanted to stop Mother from turning humans into white Zetsu and draining the ninja world. We, who carry the blessings of the entire ninja world and mankind, just want to protect the ninja world and protect mankind, but Mother at that time had fallen into impatience and madness. She insisted on achieving her goal. After communication failed, we had no choice but to choose to seal Mother. Mother didn't treat us badly. My brother and I also know what she was preparing, but we really can't agree with her approach. Otsutsuki Hamura sighed and continued, later, through my brother's investigation, we learned that all the preparations Mother made were for the upcoming people from heaven, that is, those real people from the Otsutsuki clan. Mother actually wanted to protect us, but her approach was too extreme. What use are the living weapons she created in front of the Otsutsuki clan? To be honest, as a mother, Kaguya Otsutsuki didn't actually owe the two brothers anything. Although Kaguya Otsutsuki had a stronger desire for control and always restricted the brothers' activities at that time and didn't let them leave too far, she really loved the two brothers deeply, and until the end, she just wanted to take back the chakra that was separated from them. At this time, Kingsley finally heard what he wanted, and it seemed that he could temporarily calm down. What the Six Paths brothers were trying to stop was not the act of planting trees, but to stop the devastating damage to the ninja world. Therefore, as long as his methods were gentler and would not cause damage to the sustainable development of the ninja world, then there should not be any big problem. As long as Kingsley successfully grows a chakra fruit and eats it, Kingsley's strength will surely surpass that of the Six Paths brothers, and then there will be no need to worry about anything. For thousands of years, I have been almost always asleep, and have never actively intervened in the affairs of the ninja world. I have not even intervened on the moon. Except for you, even my descendants on the moon don't know of my existence. Otsutsuki Hamura paused, then continued, as for my brother, I am not very clear, but I think his situation should be not much different from mine. For us, only things related to our mother, or some extremely extreme situations, will prompt us to show up and intervene actively. Otsutsuki Hamura clearly expressed his attitude and position, which even to a certain extent represents the attitude and position of the six-path sage Otsutsuki Hago Romo. CG doesn't believe that the two brothers have no way to communicate. But this is also a hint, or an implicit warning to Kingsley, that what you think is not the key, because the two brothers do not care about it. However, one thing is crucial, as long as Kingsley does not do such extreme behavior as destroying the ninja world, then no matter how you act, it has nothing to do with them. In fact, even if they have the ability to interfere with the real world, in the face of normal behavior, they will choose to stand idly by and will never easily intervene. Just like the six-path sage Otsutsuki Hago Romo, after his brother Indra died, he was unwilling to accept his fate and let his chakra reincarnate in an attempt to fight again. However, his younger brother Ashura's behavior was even more outrageous. His mother opened the door to outrageousness, and it was so outrageous that not only did he not stop his brother's behavior, he also followed in his brother Indra's footsteps and reincarnated his chakra, claiming to stop his brother from making more mistakes. Then what did the six-path sage do? He just watched without even thinking of saying anything to stop him. For thousands of years, the chakras of the two brothers Indra and Ashura have been constantly reincarnated, and not only did they fight each other, they also dragged their descendants' families into the water. The Senju clan and the Uchiha clan, who were descendants of the Six Paths, were almost beaten to death, but the Six-Path sage never paid any attention. Kingsley heard the meaning of Otsutsuki Hamura's words. His eyes narrowed slightly, and then he nodded, indicating that he understood what Hamura meant. However, this is actually a good thing for Kingsley. As long as the Six Paths brothers do not interfere and he continues to grow, he is confident that no one in the ninja world will be his opponent, not even Uchiha Madara or Senju Hashirama. However, Kiyoshige would not completely believe what Otsutsuki Hamura said. Although he was his ancestor, Kiyoshige had his own ideas and would not believe everything the other party said. Chapter 173. Just like now, my descendants have misinterpreted the will I left behind. Not only have they gone astray, they also want to destroy the ninja world created by my brother. Otsutsuki Hagoromo's tone changed at this time. His usually calm and indifferent tone actually carried a hint of anger. You should have seen the memory scenes left by the dead clansmen. The giant reincarnation eye formed by the blood and byakugan of a large number of clansmen, once the power is accumulated to the peak, the power it generates will even make me feel nervous. Once they really push the entire moon and crash it into the ninja world, coupled with the power of the giant samsara eye, the combination of the two will be enough to cause a disaster that destroys the entire ninja world and all living things within it. Otsutsuki Hamura's tone became serious at this time. He deeply loved the ninja world and could not allow such a thing to happen. Fortunately, no one among them has been able to awaken the Rinnegan yet. If a member of the Otsutsuki clan had the Rinnegan, coupled with the power of the giant Rinnegan, I'm afraid no one would be able to stop it. Even if I or my brother were to forcibly manifest themselves in the world, we might not be their opponents. After all, the strength we can exert in this world is limited. Otsutsuki Hamura's eyes suddenly changed. The white pupils instantly switched to a sky blue color that sparkled with sparkling light. It was the Rinnegan. When Seiji, Bing, and Yagura heard this, their expressions changed. Although they had learned about this from the memory images left by the main family, the three of them who lacked a certain understanding of the power that the giant samsara eye could unleash did not realize that the outcome of the matter would be so serious. After all, even Otsutsuki Ishiki had never heard of such a thing as the giant samsara eye. This is simply a completely unscrupulous and extreme act. I absolutely cannot accept such a thing, and I don't want to witness it happen with my own eyes. Perhaps it is fate that you three appear on the moon at this moment. Therefore, I hope that you three can stop my descendants whose minds have been severely distorted. Otsutsuki Hamura made his request, which was also his original intention to pull Seiji and the other two into this spiritual world. The three of them were silent for a moment. Seeing that Ching Si was still thinking, the third Mizukage Bing, who had already weighed the pros and cons, finally spoke up and answered, "We agree. But please tell us some information about your descendants. After all, no matter how things develop, King Ji always has ideas about the giant Rinnegan that was formed by the fusion. As long as King Ji wants to obtain the power of the giant Rinnegan, he will inevitably clash with the Otsutsuki clan on the moon." Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, Bing decisively agreed. However, although Kingxi did not speak, Bing, who was very familiar with Kingxi, believed that Kingxi would not refuse Otsutsuki Hamura's request. Moreover, Bing looked at Kingxi's expression and knew that he was still thinking about what Otsutsuki Hamura had just said, and he did not hold any opposition to this matter. Therefore, although the task of stopping the Otsutsuki clan on the moon mainly fell on Kingxi, out of courtesy, Bing decisively agreed on behalf of Kingxi. After all, they could not let Otsutsuki Hamura, a great senior who was Kingxi's ancestor, wait too long. Hearing Bing's answer, Otsutsuki Hamura nodded with satisfaction. The three people in front of him did not disappoint him. Then he picked up the black tin staff placed across his legs and gently poked the ground with the bottom. Ripples spread out under the guidance of Hamura's tin staff, and streams of information were transmitted directly into the minds of the three people and one beast in a strange way. Then he waved at Bing, Yagura, and the three-tailed Isabu on Yagura's shoulders, and sent them back first. Kingxi was kept by him, and it was obvious that he had something to say to Kingxi alone. At this time, Kingxi had also ended his contemplation, and had no objection to Bing agreeing on his behalf. Kingxi looked towards Otsutsuki Hamura, and he was a little curious about the purpose of the ancestor keeping him behind. Otsutsuki Hamura looked at Seiji, and the power of the Rinnegan emanated under his control. Feeling the power of the Rinnegan, Seiji's eyes unconsciously changed into pure eyes under the stimulation of the Rinnegan. Sure enough. This is the Eye of Hope and Destiny. Otsutsuki Hamura exclaimed, and then made a decision, "Child, let me lend you a helping hand." As Otsutsuki Hamura finished speaking, a smile appeared on his old face, and then he slowly stretched out his right hand, put his index finger and middle finger together, and then without hesitation, lightly touched the center of Seiji's brow. At this moment, a pure and majestic reincarnation pupil power flowed out from Otsutsuki Hamura's fingertips like a torrent, and quickly flowed to the position between Seiji's eyebrows. After receiving the power of the reincarnation eye from Otsutsuki Hamura, Kyoji's pure eye suddenly shone brightly, and the dazzling aqua blue light illuminated the entire spiritual space. The strength of the pure eye was increasing at a rapid speed. At the same time, the Otsutsuki bloodline in his body was also affected. Driven by the pure eye, his bloodline was also being further strengthened. Although there is still a certain distance from the level of Otsutsuki Kagaya, Kiyoshi's current blood purity has surpassed Indra and Ashura, and is heading towards the level of Otsutsuki Hago Romo and Otsutsuki Hamura. And when CG gets the giant Samsara Eye and absorbs all the original eye power of the giant Samsara Eye that condenses almost all the blood and Byakugan of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon, CG will probably be able to push his Otsutsuki bloodline to a level similar to that of Otsutsuki Hago Romo and Otsutsuki Hamura, or even surpass them. Even reaching a level close to Otsutsuki Kagaya may not be impossible. After all, in the Otsutsuki clan, which can cross the starry sky and rule large tracts of star fields, there has never been such a thing as the giant Rinnegan. No one knows to what extent CG can eventually reach with the power of the giant Rinnegan. However, it should be unlikely to reach the same level of bloodline as Kagaya Otsutsuki. It can only be said that it is relatively close. After all, Kagaya Otsutsuki has eaten a chakra fruit. Chapter 174. Kagaya Otsutsuki's bloodline is of relatively high purity in the Otsutsuki clan. After she ate a chakra fruit that pushed her bloodline to a higher level and gained the Rinnegan, the purity of her bloodline can be said to be extremely pure in the Otsutsuki clan. After all, the chakra fruit is a relatively rare thing, and there are still many members of the Otsutsuki clan who have never eaten the chakra fruit. After a long time, the aura on Kingxi's body gradually calmed down. At this time, the strength of Kingxi's pure eye and the purity of his bloodline had been unprecedentedly improved. What Otsutsuki Hamura gave him was not only pupil power, but also Otsutsuki Hamura's experience in using the Byakugan and the Samsara Eye, as well as some of his own skills that had been lost in the thousands of years of history and are called jutsu in today's ninja world. Although Otsutsuki Hamura does not have the Jougan is after all a mutation of the Byakugan, and the Jougan also has the basic abilities of the Byakugan. Therefore, the inheritance of these experiences and skills is the biggest improvement to Seiji's strength. Coming back to his senses from the joy of his improved strength, Kingxi once again looked at Otsutsuki Hamura, his eyes flashing with deep recognition and gratitude for this ancestor. No matter what happens in the future, at least at this moment, the behavior of Otsutsuki Hamura as an ancestor is undoubtedly a great help and support to Kingxi. Kiyoshi bowed respectfully to Otsutsuki Hamura with an extremely respectful attitude. This time it was not only out of due respect for the ancestor, but also full of sincere respect for the precious gift sent by Otsutsuki Hamura. This gift was of great help to Kiyoshi, as it could save him a lot of time. Otsutsuki Hamura smiled faintly and accepted Seiji's thanks. Go, kids. The fate of the ninja world is in your hands. But, never mind. At the end, Otsutsuki Hamura obviously wanted to say something else, but then he controlled himself and didn't say it out loud. Kingxi looked at Otsutsuki Hamura, who seemed to be hesitant to speak, and his brows couldn't help but raise slightly. He secretly pondered what Otsutsuki Hamura meant in his heart, and soon he regained his composure. Kingxi somewhat understood the meaning of Otsutsuki Hamura's unexpressed meaning hidden behind his words. It is obvious that what Otsutsuki Hamura wants to say is whether he can leave some seeds for the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. After all, they are also his blood descendants. Although those descendants misinterpreted his will and made him feel extremely disappointed, he is not a ruthless and cold-blooded ancestor, and he does not want to see the complete demise of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. However, Otsutsuki Hamura also knew that this might not be realistic and was a bit too much to ask. His descendants have the ability to communicate with the giant Rinnegan and fight with the power of the giant Rinnegan. Although he is not sure about the exact power of the giant Rinnegan, he knows that it will be an extremely terrifying weapon since it can destroy the main family in one blow. Therefore, Otsutsuki Hamura hesitated again and again, but finally could not say it out loud. However, although Otsutsuki Hamura didn't say anything, Kiyoshi, who already understood what he meant, had to do it. After all, they share the same blood. Although Kiyoshi's Otsutsuki and the Otsutsuki on the moon are different in a certain sense, they have the same surname after all. We will stop them. CG said in a deep voice, and brought the third Mizukage Bing and Karatagi Yagura with him. Although Seiji's strength has become unprecedentedly powerful after receiving the gift from Otsutsuki Hamura, with the information about the moon Otsutsuki clan obtained from Otsutsuki Hamura, CG can clearly know that when facing the moon Otsutsuki clan, the combat power of Bing and Yagura can also play a crucial role. If possible, I will try my best to spare their lives after the war. After a slight hesitation, Kiyoshi said it. Although he would not hold back in the battle for the sake of the Moon Otsutsuki clan who had been confirmed to be the enemy, thus facing possible dangers and leading to his own defeat, but if there was a glimmer of hope and everything could go smoothly, Kyoji decided to hold back a little at the end. Hearing Kyoji's addition, Otsutsuki Hamura's eyes revealed a hint of helplessness and sadness. He knew that Kyoji understood his unfinished meaning. After a moment's silence, he said nothing more. He waved at Kyoji and sent him out of this spiritual space. Because Bing and Yagura came out first, they had already collected a part of the puppet wreckage that looked barely intact, and were preparing to take it back to the Hidden Mist village for research. When they saw Kingxi moving, they turned their attention to Kingxi. Let's go. It's time to meet the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. Kingxi opened his eyes that had been closed because he was summoned to the spiritual space by Otsutsuki Hamura, and directly opened his pure eyes. A cold light flashed in his eyes. After the three of them were fully prepared, they arrived at the deepest part of the cemetery. As Kingxi's hands changed their seals, the space passage leading to the interior of the artificial sun gradually appeared. Without any hesitation, the three of them decisively entered the space channel. After a moment, the space ripples continued to fluctuate, teleporting the three of them to their destination, which was a side hall in the Otsutsuki clan castle on the moon located in the center of the artificial sun. As soon as the space fluctuation appeared in the side hall, it was noticed by the three elders Otsutsuki Heizhiki, Otsutsuki Koshiki, and Otsutsuki Tachibanashiki who were already prepared to welcome it. Therefore, as soon as the three of them appeared in the side hall, they were hit head-on by the third elder Otsutsuki Tachibana who had arrived. The giant samsara eye located in the Hamura temple shone brightly, and the incomparably powerful force was poured into Otsutsuki Tachibana's body through the air. The golden chakra wrapped around his whole body, and Otsutsuki Tachibana's aura instantly became terrifying. He had just been defeated by Seiji and the other two not long ago, and he was filled with boundless anger and murderous intent, and his first move was a fatal killing move. God Air Attack. This is a super powerful physical technique passed down by Otsutsuki Hamura. It is a weakened version of the 80 Gods Air Strike performed by Otsutsuki Kagaya. With the power of the giant Samsara Eye, it bursts out with extraordinary power. Chapter 175. A huge lavender translucent chakra fist struck towards the landing point of the space channel. Ching Si and the other two who had just emerged from the space channel all changed their expressions drastically when they sensed this extremely powerful blow that carried with it boundless terrifying momentum and a huge attack range. It has to be said that the timing of Otsutsuki Tachibana's attack was simply perfect. He caught the moment when Kingxi and the other two appeared from the space channel. Kingxi had enough means to avoid this attack, but if he did so, it would be equivalent to directly selling out Bing and Yagura. Even if Bing and Yagura could defend in time, the best result would be that they would be seriously injured. Therefore, this attack left Kingxi and the other two with no way to avoid it and they could only choose to take it head-on. Tisk. Ching Si spat lightly, they were tricked. They didn't expect their whereabouts to be exposed so quickly. It seemed that the space passage left by the main family had already been discovered by those people from the branch family. However, Kingji did not have much time to think, as Otsutsuki Tachibana's attack was already within reach. Kingxi subconsciously used the strongest defensive ninjutsu he could use at the moment. A bone spur emerged from the fingertips of his left hand and quickly crossed the palm of his right hand. The chakra in his body began to circulate rapidly, and he quickly formed seals with both hands and slapped the ground hard. The art of spiritual communication. Uncle Wu is here to repair the gate. 5-layer Rashomon. 5 doors with different styles of evil spirits carved on them suddenly rose up from the ground and blocked Kingxi and the other two in time. Boom! With a loud bang, the giant chakra fist swung out by Shenkongji hit Rashomon hard. The first 3 gates were broken in an instant as if made of paper by this terrifying blow, and turned into white smoke and dissipated. The 4th gate only lasted for less than a breath, and only the last vermilion gate lasted for a full 3 breaths under the attack of the chakra giant fist before it was finally broken through. Although the resistance was not long, it gave Kingxi and the other two enough time to dodge. By continuously performing the technique of instant body movement, the 3 of them moved away from the space channel and stood in 3 different directions, confronting Otsutsuki Tachibana. Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki was breathing heavily. Under normal circumstances, it would be difficult for him to use a move like the Divine Aerial Strike with his original strength. This time, he borrowed the power of the giant Samsara Eye to use it smoothly. However, even if he borrowed the power of the giant Samsara Eye and successfully used the Divine Sky Strike, its consumption was quite large, far beyond Otsutsuki Tachibana's expectations. Although the power of the Divine Sky Strike was enhanced by the power of the giant Samsara Eye, after this attack was launched, more than one-third of the chakra in Otsutsuki Tachibana's body was still consumed. However, this also shows the terrifying power of the God Sky Strike. Although this is only a weakened version of Kaguya Otsutsuki's 80 God Sky Strike, the power it displays with the help of the giant Samsara Eye is still unstoppable by the 5-layer Rashomon of the tailed beast ball that can block and change the 9 tails in its powerful state. Kingji keenly noticed through his pure eye that the amount of chakra in Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki's body had suddenly dropped after he performed the Divine Sky Strike. He glanced at the third Mizukage Bing, then directly formed a hand seal and launched a ninjutsu to counterattack. Bing, who also had a strong perception ability, soon discovered this. Kingxi's gaze happened to look over at this time. Bing instantly understood what Kingxi meant and also began to form hand seals. He was the first to arrive and completed the ninjutsu before Kingxi. Water Release, Water Dragon Bullet Technique. Lightning Style, Thunder Arrow. A ferocious water dragon appeared out of nowhere, roared loudly, and then rushed towards Otsutsuki Tachibana. At the same time, in Kingji's hands, lightning chakra continued to gather, and then countless arrow-shaped white lightning shot out from the palm of his hand and merged into the rapidly charging water dragon. Combined Ninjutsu, Thunder Water Dragon Bullet. The ferocious water dragon flashing with electric light and carrying a powerful aura rushed towards Otsutsuki Tachibana. Otsutsuki Tachibana curled his lips in disdain, his tone somewhat mocking, "Humph, that's all." Regarding this little trick of the ninja world, the third elder of the lunar Otsutsuki clan, who had lived on the moon for many years, had never been to the ninja world and had never cared about the ninja world, and whose strength was just okay, seemed extremely confident and arrogant, and did not take this combination of ninjutsu seriously at all. But at this moment, Otsutsuki Tachibana, who raised his hands and was about to perform ninjutsu to fight back, seemed to have sensed something, and put his hands down again, quietly watching the Thunder Water Dragon Bomb getting closer and closer to him. A stone statue suddenly appeared silently in this side hall, and as soon as it appeared, its size quickly grew, blocking the path of the Thunder and Water Dragon Bomb that was whistling towards it, and soon broke through the roof of the side hall. If you look closely, you will find that the appearance of this stone statue is very similar to Otsutsuki Hamura that Seiji and the other two had just met. It turned out to be the great elder Otsutsuki Heizhiki and the second elder Otsutsuki Kazushiki who had arrived, and this huge stone statue was the work of the great elder Otsutsuki Heizhiki. Otsutsuki Heizhiki and Otsutsuki Kazushiki have also communicated with the giant Rin-Egan, and the golden Rin-Egan chakra has enveloped their bodies. Kyoshi looked at Otsutsuki Heizhiki solemnly. This was the most powerful enemy he had ever encountered. Under the observation of the pure eye, Otsutsuki Heizhiki exuded an extremely terrifying chakra aura. In comparison, the second elder Otsutsuki Kazushiki and the third elder Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki beside him were not comparable to him at all. If the current strength of Otsutsuki Tachibana is 1, then the strength of Otsutsuki Kazushiki is about 1.6, and the strength of Otsutsuki Heizhiki is at least 3. Moreover, according to the information provided by Otsutsuki Hamura, the great elder Otsutsuki Heizhiki is the person who has the highest degree of resonance with the giant reincarnation eye. The power of the giant reincarnation eye that he can borrow is far greater than that of the other two. However, he is far from showing his full strength now. Bing and Yagura also had cold sweat on their foreheads. Although they had learned from Otsutsuki Hamura how powerful the enemy was, when the two of them faced Otsutsuki Heizhiki, they were still filled with turmoil in their hearts. Originally, Kingji's observation was not very clear, but when the three elders of the Otsutsuki clan branch on the moon all appeared, Kingji's pure eye vision could clearly observe the rising and radiating Samsara eye chakra on their bodies and the vague connection between them and somewhere not far from here. There is no doubt that that should be the Hamura temple where the giant Samsara eye is stored. Chapter 176. Without any communication, both sides had confirmed that the other was a mortal enemy, so the battle broke out in an instant. According to the information provided by Otsutsuki Hamura, Seiji was responsible for dealing with the most powerful elder Otsutsuki Hiroshiki, the third Mizukage Bing was responsible for dealing with the second elder Otsutsuki Kazushiki, and the slightly weaker Three Tails Jinchuriki Karatagi Yagura was responsible for dealing with the weakest third elder Otsutsuki Shiki, who had already consumed a lot of chakra. Takamagahara. Kingxi's right eye lit up, and a large amount of pupil power gathered. His pure eye couldn't help but emit a water blue light. After consuming a large amount of pupil power, Kingxi released all of his Dasyatien in one breath. 6 extremely heavy black cubes fell one after another, and the stone statue of Hamura was suddenly suppressed, with no energy left to make other moves. After seeing Kingxi taking action, Bing and Yagura looked at each other, and then seized this fleeting opportunity. While the stone statue of Hamura was unable to make any extra blocking movements, their chakra burst out directly, and the powerful ninjutsu directly divided the battlefield. Ice escape, Ice Age. Who will repair the water dam? 2 powerful A-level ninjutsu were launched at the same time, and an endless flood rushed out of the side hall where they were. Soon, the entire castle was submerged in the ocean. Then, the icy cold air and the surging water intertwined with each other to form a huge ice curtain. The entire battlefield was instantly divided into 3 parts. Bing and Yagura took the opportunity to quickly adjust their positions and prepare for their respective battles. The Rinnegan chakra covering Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's body continued to rise, and the stone statue of Hamura that was suppressed by Otsutsuki Ten directly disintegrated, turning into a piece of rubble and scattered on the ground. Afterwards, Otsutsuki Hiki identified Kyoji's position, instantly appeared in front of Kyoji, and lightly hit Kyoji with a palm. What was passed down by the lunar Otsutsuki clan are basically the abilities of Otsutsuki Hamura, but before they had the giant Samsara Eye, their individual strength was not as strong as Otsutsuki Hamura, so they were unable to use many powerful moves. Moreover, for thousands of years, they have been arrogant, self-satisfied, and arrogant. They simply look down on the various ninjutsu that have appeared in the ninja world. Unlike the ninja world, the constant fighting has not greatly promoted the continuous innovation of various techniques. Therefore, there is no essential difference in the attack methods of the current Otsutsuki clan on the moon and the Hyuga clan in the ninja world. Kingji narrowed his eyes slightly, and his pure eyes instantly saw through the flow of chakra in Otsutsuki Hishiki's body, and determined the moves used by Otsutsuki Hiki. So, Kingxi recalled the gift that Otsutsuki Hamura had given him not long ago, and the chakra in his body began to flow rapidly, and he struck out with a palm strike exactly the same as Otsutsuki Hishiki's. 8 trigrams Mountain Driving Palm. 8 trigrams Mountain Driving Palm. When their palms met, a look of surprise suddenly appeared on Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's calm face, as if he didn't believe that CG could use the same moves as himself. You know, this is a physical technique that was passed down later by Otsutsuki Hamura. Even the Hyuga clan who returned to the ninja world from the moon did not inherit this move. How is this possible? Unconvinced, Otsutsuki Hiki stepped forward again and exchanged a few palm strikes with Kyoshi. This time, even though he couldn't believe it, he had to admit that the moves used by Kyoshi were exactly the same as his. With a gloomy face, after a few light jumps, Otsutsuki Hiki put some distance between himself and Kyoshi. This series of attacks and dodges were performed with such ease that it was hard to imagine that this was something that an extremely old man could do. Otsutsuki Hiki took a deep breath, trying to calm his inner restlessness. He forcibly suppressed all the thoughts that arose in his heart, and the chakra in his body further exploded. At the same time, he also further communicated with the giant Rinnegan in the Hamura temple, and established a closer connection with the giant Rinnegan in the Hamura temple. A huge amount of Rinnegan chakra crossed the space and merged into Otsutsuki Hishiki's body. Through the few fights that seemed simple but contained mysteries, Otsutsuki Hiki already had a vague idea of Kyoshi's level of strength. At this point, he had already somewhat recognized Kyoshi's strength in his heart. Although the strength Kyoshi displayed was not enough to scare him, who had the power of the giant Samsara Eye, he had begun to take him seriously and had already regarded Kyoshi as an opponent who could fight him head-on. At this moment, Otsutsuki Hiki has put aside his previous contempt and arrogance towards the ninja world. Although he still deeply believes that CG and the other 2 from the ninja world are evil people, he has begun to treat his opponent CG as an equal. This is very rare for him, who is extremely arrogant and is the chief elder of the Otsutsuki clan's branch on the moon. You know, he doesn't think highly of the strength of even the second elder Otsutsuki Kazushiki and the third elder Otsutsuki Tachibana Shiki, even though both of them can rely on some of the power of the giant Samsara Eye. Before meeting Ching Si, the only people he treated so seriously and regarded as worthy opponents were the deceased clan leader of the branch family and the clan leader and great elder of the main family who had been killed by him with the power of the giant reincarnation eye. Therefore, in order to kill Kingxi, whom he regarded as an invader, he needed more power. After absorbing more Rinnegan chakra, Otsutsuki Hishi's aura was further enhanced, and the golden Rinnegan chakra wrapped around his body began to burn like a real flame. 8 trigrams empty wall palm. Otsutsuki Hishi stretched out his hands, gathered a powerful chakra in the palms of his hands, and then pushed them forward suddenly, instantly releasing a fierce chakra shock wave, like a ferocious dragon, rushing towards Seiji's position with unparalleled power. Facing this powerful attack, Kingxi did not intend to use the same moves again this time. He knew that although he had a very high talent and had learned to use these physical skills in such a short time, compared with Otsutsuki Hishi who had been immersed in these physical skills for decades, his understanding and application of these physical skills inherited from Otsutsuki Hamura were still slightly inferior. Therefore, Kingxi will have to fight the enemy with his original fighting style for the time being. Chapter 177. Ching Si waved his hands quickly in the air, leaving a trail of afterimages. Zia Yinwu, the 3 seals were completed in an instant. Fire escape Touk Ku. As the compressed fireball came out of Kingxi's mouth, the seals in his hands continued to change. Wind escape press. The high-pressure wind ball caught up with the fireball at an extremely fast speed, and then merged into it. The temperature of the flame rose sharply in an instant, and the surging sea of fire began to spread rapidly. Combined ninjutsu, flame wind wave. The chakra shock wave released by the Kongbai palm was like a ferocious dragon, roaring and crashing into the blazing sea of fire. The sea of fire was instantly shattered into pieces, and flames splashed everywhere. However, in this fierce collision, the power of the chakra shock wave was gradually weakened by the sea of fire. When the chakra shockwave finally passed through the sea of fire and reached Kingxi, the power it contained had been basically exhausted and there was not much power left. The chakra shockwave hit Kingxi's body, making a dull sound. But Kingxi's body did not shake at all, as if the impact was just a breeze. The corpse bone veins on the surface of his body were as solid as a rock, easily resisting the attack, leaving him unscathed. Kingxi's hands did not stop because of the tickling attack. His eyes were focused and determined. He slowly put his hands together, with his right pinky touching his left pinky, and his thumbs touching each other, forming a triangular frame. As he moved, a powerful energy began to gather in his hands. Yin chakra and yang chakra continuously flowed out of Kingxi's body and gathered towards his hands. The 2 different chakras intertwined in a peculiar way, forming a dazzling light. They were constantly mixed and compressed in a ratio of 2:8, causing the concentration and density of the chakra to gradually increase. As the chakra continued to gather, the oppressive aura became stronger and stronger, as if the entire space was shrouded by this force. This aura made people feel suffocated and terrified, and even the air around them became heavy. Even the members of the Moon Otsutsuki clan who were transferred to the Hamura temple at a certain distance from here and were waiting for the outcome of the battle between the 2 sides could feel this destructive chakra aura. Originally, they were confident that their 3 elders could easily kill the evil invaders from the ninja world, but when they felt the horrifying aura coming from a distance, they couldn't help but become a little uneasy. A high-density purple-black chakra ball about the size of a football appeared in front of the triangular frame formed by Kingxi's hands. Tailed Beast Jade. The power and stability of this tailed beast ball far exceeded the one that Seiji used in the battle against the 3 tails. With the explosion of Seiji's chakra, the tailed beast ball was like a flaming meteor, whizzing towards Otsutsuki Hiki at an astonishing speed. The piercing scream pierced the sky, as if it was going to tear the whole world apart. Although at this moment, Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's eye sockets were empty and he could not see with his eyes, the unique way of perception possessed by the Moon Otsutsuki clan allowed him to clearly feel the terrifying power contained in the tailed beast ball. Otsutsuki Hishiki's expression changed slightly. Kyoshi had once again exceeded his expectations. Even he couldn't easily use an attack of this power. After extracting nearly 1/3 of the chakra in his body in one breath, Otsutsuki Hiki summoned the stone statue of Hamura again to block in front of him. Boom! The tailed beast ball hit the stone statue of Hamura, and the roar of the explosion resounded throughout the entire castle. Bing and Otsutsuki Kazushiki and Yagura and Otsutsuki Tachibana, who were fighting fiercely in the other 2 places, couldn't help but pause in their movements. The violent explosion stirred up thick smoke and dust. Kingxi's pure eyes clearly saw through the smoke that the stone statue of Hamura was directly blown to pieces by the tailed beast ball, and the fragments of the statue were scattered all over the ground. Although Otsutsuki Hiki could use chakra to restore it to its original state, he did not do so. After all, he summoned the Hamura statue only for defense. Controlling the stone statue to attack was a little difficult for Otsutsuki Hiki, who did not have the Rinnegan and only relied on the power of the giant Rinnegan. It was not as smooth as other attack methods. Kiyoshi, who had the information given by Otsutsuki Hamura, also knew this. However, when he saw that Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki did not restore the stone statue, he shot out like lightning, and with the cover of smoke and dust, he rushed towards Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki, whose perception was temporarily disturbed by the chaotic chakra fluctuations. Kiyoshi rushed out from the smoke and in a flash came in front of Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki. He raised his foot and kicked him hard. Otsutsuki Hirashiki reacted quickly, stretched out his arm, blocked Kiyoshi's powerful kick, and then grabbed Kiyoshi's ankle. Kiyoshi was not surprised by this. The Otsutsuki clan on the moon were all masters of physical skills. Kiyoshi didn't expect such a simple attack to be successful. Kiyoshige did not try to get rid of Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki, but instead used the force to twist his body slightly to accumulate strength, and then punched Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki in the face again. Otsutsuki Heishiki's movements were completely predicted by Kiyoshige. Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki was not panicked either. With his free hand, he spread out his 5 fingers and firmly grasped Seiji's fist, blocking the punch accurately. Seeing this, Kiyoshi twisted his body again, drew a crescent in the air with his other foot, and then chopped towards Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki. Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki quickly released the hand that was blocking Kiyoshi's fist, raised his arm horizontally above his forehead, and blocked Kiyoshi's attack again. However, at this time, Ching Si, whose 3 attacks were all blocked, slightly curved his lips. These 3 attacks were just feints. Shakebone pulse dance of Karamatsu. Wherever Kiyoshiki and Otsutsuki Heishiki's bodies touched, countless sharp bone spurs instantly broke out of Kiyoshiki's body and stabbed straight towards Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki who was nearby. This time, Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki obviously did not anticipate such a change and was unable to defend himself in time. He was caught off guard by the bone spur that appeared in an instant. Although he began to retreat as soon as he realized something was wrong, the bone spur still penetrated his defense and hit his body. Holes appeared on the Otsutsuki clan's iconic white robe. Blood continued to seep out from the wounds, staining the white robe with bright red bloodstains. Good. Very good. The old voice of Otsutsuki Hirashiki came. This was also the first time he spoke in the battle, the bones of the Kagaya clan in the ninja realm. The moment he was hit by the bone spur, Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki realized the source of this attack. As the chief elder of the Otsutsuki clan's branch on the moon, he had observed the ninja world a lot before, so he had a certain understanding of the corpse bone vein. Chapter 178. In his heart, Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki once again raised his evaluation and threat level towards Kiyoshi. At the same time, he also made a firm decision that he must kill Kiyoshi here today. If Kingxi continues to grow like this, he might become an obstacle for their clan to fulfill the will of their ancestor Otsutsuki Hamura and destroy the ninja world created by the Six Paths Sage. No one can stop them from splitting up and thoroughly implementing the will of the ancestors of Hamura. But Kiyoshi didn't care what Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki thought. He did a somersault in the air and landed gracefully on the ground. He formed the tiger seal with his hands and at the same time, the power of his pupils flowed in his pure eyes, disturbing the space in front of him. Then he directly launched the ninjutsu and pursued Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki. Fire style, storm dance. The high-temperature flame that spewed out of Kingxi's mouth passed through the space in front of him that had already been distorted and fluctuated under the influence of the pure eye, and swept towards Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki in a spiral. Humph! Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki snorted coldly, and then made a series of smooth movements. He took a step back with his right foot, forming a stable triangular support point with the ground, and his body's center of gravity dropped as well, as if rooted in the ground. At the same time, his right arm slowly gathered at his waist like a bow ready to be launched, his muscles tensed, and his chakra gradually accumulated. When the chakra accumulated to the limit, Otsutsuki Hirashiki suddenly struck forward with a palm. This palm was like a thunderbolt, with unparalleled power and speed, instantly breaking through the air barrier and making a sharp whistle. 8 trigram spiral slap. Spiral palm power instantly emanated from the palm of Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki, and the palm wind swept forward like a raging torrent. Wherever it passed, the air was torn apart, forming a shock wave visible to the naked eye. The invisible repulsive force wave spread out like ripples at an astonishing speed. This powerful force intertwined with the strong shock wave, forming an irresistible torrent of energy. The surging flames seemed to be pushed by an invisible giant hand and were directly bounced away by the repulsive force. Their originally fierce momentum was reversed in an instant, and they rolled back like flames blown down by the wind. The power of the Rinnegan! Kingxi sighed, his thoughts flying. At this moment, he thought of the Rinnegan on his disciple Nagato, which came from the Asura of the ninja world, Uchiha Madara. From Otsutsuki Hamura, I learned that the Rinnegan has the same ability to manipulate gravity and repulsion as the Samsara Eye. However, CG has no detailed concept of to what extent Otsutsuki Heishi can achieve this ability in the hands of Otsutsuki Heishi. After all, there is still a difference between Otsutsuki Hamura's Rinnegan and the giant Rinnegan that was fused together. Moreover, how can Otsutsuki Hamura's strength be compared with that of a mere Otsutsuki Heishi? Kingxi looked at his fire escape that was bounced back, his expression did not change at all, and there was even a hint of a smile on the corner of his mouth, as if he had already expected all this. Hey, so it is. Ching Si whispered to himself, his voice low and confident. Everything that happened at the moment was still under his control, and his heart was not disturbed by this method that could deflect ninjutsu. He calmly formed a seal with one hand in front of his chest, and then activated the instant body movement technique, and Kingxi's figure disappeared on the spot. Otsutsuki Hiroshiki quickly captured Kyoji's new position. The unique way of perception of the moon Otsutsuki clan locked onto Kyoshi. He raised his left hand slightly, pointed his palm at Kyoshi, and chakra burst out directly. 8 trigram spiral suction palm. A strong suction gushed out from the palm of Otsutsuki Hiroshiki. This suction seemed to have endless power. The strong gravity pulled Kingxi tightly, making him feel that his body was being dragged by an invisible force. Kingxi tried his best to break free from the shackles of this gravity, but no matter how hard he tried, he was ultimately unable to contend with this strong gravity. Moreover, under the cover of this gravity, even making a move to resist was very difficult. Kyoji's body gradually lost control and was pulled rapidly towards Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's position. When Kyoji was pulled close to Otsutsuki Hiroshiki by gravity, Otsutsuki Hiroshiki gathered his strength and then fiercely hit Kyoji's abdomen with a palm. This palm hit Kyoji's abdomen instantly with unparalleled power and speed. 8 trigrams breaking the mountain. The chakra that spewed out from Otsutsuki Heishi's palm was like a huge laser ray, carrying endless destructive power. Facing such a powerful attack, Ching Si had no time to react. He widened his eyes, with an expression of astonishment and disbelief on his face. Before he could make any move, the attack, which was powerful enough to penetrate a small mountain, instantly penetrated his body. A huge hole appeared at Kyoji's waist and abdomen, but Kyoji did not show any despair or anger. Instead, he gave Otsutsuki Hiroshiki a mysterious smile. Then Kyoji's body began to become blurred and turned into flashing lightning. These lightnings intertwined into an electric net in the air, emitting dazzling light. Thunder escape shadow clone. The lightning release that exploded right in his face instantly knocked Otsutsuki Hiroshiki into a state of stiffness. It turned out that when Kingxi used the flickering technique to avoid the fire escape that was rolled back, he used the lightning release chakra to create a shadow clone, and it was this lightning release shadow clone that was sucked over by the gravity of the spiral suction palm. With the information provided by Otsutsuki Hamura, Kyoji had already been on guard against Otsutsuki Heishichi using gravity and repulsion to attack. While you're sick. Kill you. Of course, Kingxi would not miss this perfect opportunity that he had planned for a long time. He clasped his hands together and gathered a large amount of chakra in his mouth. Water style, water break wave. The ultra-high pressure straight water column compressed to the extreme, like a sharp blade, cut towards Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's neck. At this time, Otsutsuki Heishichi finally felt the fear of death. Under the threat of death, Otsutsuki Heishichi exploded all the chakra in his body. Under the impact of massive chakra, he forcibly got rid of the paralyzing effect of lightning release, endured the severe pain of the chakra conflict in his body, resumed his movement, and narrowly avoided Seiji's fatal blow. However, at this moment, Kyoji's figure disappeared from the spot, and he rushed towards the still staggering and shaking Otsutsuki Heishi with astonishing speed. His movements were light and agile, as elusive as a ghost. Corpse vein, dance of the wire flower. Flower. Kyoji's right arm was quickly wrapped by the bones that kept pouring out of his body, and then in the blink of an eye a huge bone drill was formed, which he poked hard at Otsutsuki Hiroshiki. Kingxi wants to give others a taste of their own medicine. Just now you, Otsutsuki Heishi, pierced through my shadow clone, so now I will let you experience the feeling of having your body pierced through. At this time, Otsutsuki Heizhiki finally made up his mind. He had determined that Kyoshi would be an obstacle for their branch family to implement Hamura's will. Originally, he didn't want to burn his blood and sacrifice himself to fight for his life. He also wanted to live to see the moment when their branch family completely implemented Hamura's will. But now, King C's strength forced him to do so. Otsutsuki Heishiki's disordered breath suddenly calmed down, and then the Otsutsuki blood in his body instantly burned. He completely sacrificed everything of himself to the giant Rinnegan in the Hamura temple, and established an extremely close connection between himself and the giant Rinnegan. This also means that Otsutsuki Heishi's life has entered the countdown. Even if he does nothing, there are only the last 24 hours left. If another fierce battle occurs, then the moment the chakra is exhausted will be the moment when Otsutsuki Heizhiki will meet his end. The giant Rinnegan in the Hamura temple received the sacrifice of Otsutsuki Heizhiki, and it suddenly shone brightly, and then endless Rinnegan chakra poured into Otsutsuki Heishiki's body at an extremely fast speed. The chakra that had been almost exhausted just now was instantly replenished, and even excess chakra overflowed, making him look like a golden sun emitting dazzling light. Then, Otsutsuki Heizhiki put on a golden coat made entirely of materialized samsara I chakra, and firmly defended against the attack of the iron wire flower in Seiji's hand that tried to pierce his body. King C's heart suddenly trembled, and he quickly retreated with a look of surprise on his face. He clearly felt a strong and suffocating aura emanating from the Otsutsuki Heishi in front of him. Around Otsutsuki Heishi's eyes, there are constantly and faintly flickering wisps of brilliant colors, like a mysterious and beautiful light. And this posture of chakra rotating outward to form a solid chakra coat is completely consistent with the ability of the Samsara I described by Otsutsuki Hamura. It is one of the abilities of Seiji's Samsara I, the Samsara I chakra mode. Although Kyoshi knew that Otsutsuki Heizhiki should still have some hidden strength, he did not expect that Otsutsuki Heizhiki, who had lost his Byakugan and could not awaken the Rinnegan on his own, could use the power of the giant Rinnegan to perform the Rinnegan chakra mode that only the owner of the Rinnegan can use. As time went by, Otsutsuki Heizhiki slowly opened his eyes, which had been closed for a long time. Surprisingly, the empty left and right eye sockets were shining with bright light, which was the Samsara I. Otsutsuki Heizhiki has once again gained light. However, the story did not end there. As soon as the Rinnegan in Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's eye socket appeared, it began to change from golden yellow to deep sky blue under the influence of the Otsutsuki bloodline in his body. At the same time, the chakra coat on his body also underwent amazing changes, from the original dazzling golden yellow to a green full of vitality and vigor. This is the strongest state of Otsutsuki Heizhiki, although he paid for it with his life. At this time, Kiyoshige, who was facing Otsutsuki Heizhiki, who had already activated the Samsaranan chakra mode, had to admit in his heart that Otsutsuki Heishiki's current strength could be said to have completely surpassed him. However, Kyoshi is not without any chance of winning. After all, he has all the information provided by Otsutsuki Hamura, and he has keenly noticed the abnormality in Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's vitality. As long as he can hold on to the end, even if it takes a long time, it will be enough to drag Otsutsuki Hiroshiki to death. Having regained his sight, Otsutsuki Heizhiki could finally take a good look at Kiyoshige, who was fighting him equally with him. It was this one look that finally made him realize the seriousness of the situation. Features so similar to those of the ancestor Hamura. And, that is, the pure eye. Otsutsuki Heishi's heart was greatly shocked. The appearance of Seiji with horns on his forehead and the pure eye shining with a water blue luster frightened the great elder of the Otsutsuki clan's branch on the moon. "Tell me your name." "Invader from the ninja world," Otsutsuki Heizhiki asked, and he was a little panicked at this time. But perhaps it was because of Kyoshi's appearance and pure eyes that intimidated him, so Otsutsuki Heizhiki no longer called Kyoshi the evil man at this time. King C smiled coldly. He guessed what Otsutsuki Heizhiki was thinking, but he didn't mind it. He and they were not the same kind of people. "Otsutsuki Seiji." Seiji replied calmly, and then added another sentence in an attempt to confuse Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's heart, "Old man. No need to say anything more. There is nothing to say to you, the branch family members who distorted the true meaning of the ancestor of Hamura." Otsutsuki Heishi's pupil shrank. Sure enough, he was really a member of the main family. There was actually a fish that escaped and survived. Otsutsuki Heishi was successfully misled by what Kingxi had just said. He firmly believed that Kingxi was the surviving member of the main family of the Moon Otsutsuki clan. The green samsara eye chakra that soared into the sky showed that Otsutsuki Heishi's heart was not at peace. On Otsutsuki Heishi's face, gloomy and ferocious colors kept alternating with each other. All the people in the main family deserved to die. Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's eyes were cold, his left hand was facing the ground, and gravity was activated. Countless stones scattered on the ground due to the battle slowly floated up as if controlled by an invisible hand. These stones continued to decompose and combine in the air, and finally formed countless sharp stone spikes. These stone spikes were extremely sharp, flashing with cold light, which made people shudder. Then, Otsutsuki Hiroshiki raised his right hand, pointed his palm at Kiyoshi, and a powerful repulsive force burst out from his palm. This repulsive force swept around like a storm, stirring up the surrounding air. As the repulsive force took effect, the sharp stone spikes floating in the air began to spin faster and made a buzzing sound. Driven by the repulsive force, they rushed towards Ching-si like a rainstorm. Each stone spike contained huge power and carried a fierce killing intent, as if it wanted to pierce Ching-si directly. Chapter 179. Ching-si looked at the densely packed sharp stone spikes shooting towards him without panicking. His left eye slightly lit up, and at the moment when the stone spikes were about to reach him, he activated his pupil technique Xiaoming Biguna, shrinking himself to the point where he was almost invisible to the naked eye, and narrowly avoided the attack. Then, Kingxi, who was in a shrunken state, landed steadily on one of the stone spikes that were shot at him. He then took advantage of the momentum with his feet and stepped forward heavily. The whole person flew towards Otsutsuki Hiroshiki like an arrow. Seeing CG suddenly disappear, Otsutsuki Heiseki couldn't help but be stunned. Under the gaze of the samsara eye, he did not find any signs of CG using the flickering technique, nor did he sense any fluctuations in time and space. Otsutsuki Heiseki increased the output of his pupil power, and his samsara eye was instantly pushed to the extreme. The bright blue light shone out, trying to find out where CG was. Suddenly, Otsutsuki Heishiki's pupils involuntarily contracted violently. With the fully activated samsara eye, he finally discovered the shrunken CG. However, when he discovered CG had already used the eye technique Shayanabai Kona again to restore his body to its original size and came close to Otsutsuki Heiseki. Otsutsuki Heiseki was slightly startled. He had no idea of Kiyoshi's moves and didn't want to engage in close combat with Kiyoshi at this moment, so he quickly used the repulsive force to push his body to retreat quickly. However, no matter how timely Otsutsuki Heishiki's reaction was, the speed at which he was preparing to retreat could not be compared with Kiyoshi's speed, which had already accelerated to the extreme. Kiyoshi accelerated again and passed Otsutsuki Heiseki. Then Kiyoshi lowered his center of gravity, crouched down, and kicked Otsutsuki Heiseki hard from bottom to top. Otsutsuki Heiseki was suddenly kicked hard by CG on the back. The force was so great that he instantly lost his balance and his body was involuntarily kicked into the air. Kiyoshi then dodged and appeared above Otsutsuki Heiseki, who was flying upwards before Otsutsuki Heiseki could react and adjust his body in the air. Then Kiyoshi raised his right leg high, like a sharp scimitar, and chopped down at Otsutsuki Hiroshiki from top to bottom with fierce momentum. Boom! With a loud bang, Otsutsuki Hiroshiki fell rapidly in the air like a cannonball, hitting the ground at an angle. The ground trembled under the huge impact force, and dust flew up, forming a thick smoke that made it difficult to see what was going on. However, this had no effect on Kingxi, who had the pure eyes that could see through things. Kingxi fell to the ground immediately afterwards, the chakra in his body flowing rapidly, and he pressed his hands hard to the ground. Corpse vein dance of the early ferns. Countless white bone spurs broke out of the ground, but were controlled by Kingxi at the place where Otsutsuki Hiroshiki landed, covering the place tightly. However, this series of perfect combos ultimately disappointed Kiyoshige. Under the observation of the pure eye, not only did Otsutsuki Heishiki's aura not weaken at all, but even Kiyoshige's attack just now failed to completely break through the chakra code under the samsara eye mode. Cough cough cough. Otsutsuki Heiseki coughed lightly a few times. Although he was not injured, the heavy blows still caused the blood in his body to churn. Otsutsuki Heiseki controlled the repulsive force and slowly floated up from the bone forest, floating in the air and looking down at Kingxi. One after another, inky black spheres continued to emerge from the void and appeared beside Otsutsuki Heiseki. Looking at the black spheres floating beside Otsutsuki Hirashiki, King C's eyes couldn't help but become cautious. Is this the truth-seeking jade formed by yin-yang release? King C thought to himself. Thinking back to the information given by Otsutsuki Hamura, King C felt heavy in his heart. The truth-seeking jade is not an easy thing to deal with. Although the power and volume of a single truth-seeking jewel produced under the Samsara I Chakra mode are not as great as those produced by mastering the six-path sage technique, it can break through the normal limit on the number of truth-seeking jewels and will not be limited to only 9. And the one who just blocked the attack of early Fern Dance was Chu Daoyu. It turned out that before being attacked by the Bone Spur, Otsutsuki Haze Hiki turned a truth-seeking ball that he condensed in time into a shield and placed it under his feet, so he was not injured at all. After all, the truth-seeking ball is formed by mixing 7 types of chakras and using yin-yang escape, and has the ability to ignore all ordinary ninjutsu. The green Samsara I Chakra around Otsutsuki Haze Hiki gradually covered the truth-seeking ball, forming green chakra beads that shone with dazzling green light. Then, accompanied by Otsutsuki Hishiki's waving of his hand, they turned into chakra light bullets that slammed towards CG. Rosary Light Cannon. This is much more powerful than the rosary light cannon that Otsutsuki Tachibana used to remotely control the puppet. The one that Otsutsuki Tachibana used was simply a chakra rosary formed by the Samsara I Chakra and then used to launch a rosary light cannon, while the one that Otsutsuki Haze Hiki used is essentially a truth-seeking ball. Ching Si's face changed. He knew the nature of the Dao-seeking jade and didn't want to confront it head-on. He poured a lot of pupil power into the pure eye, and Ching Si used the pure eye's insight to the extreme, and instantly calculated the paths of all the rosary light cannons. The bones in the body continued to pour out and formed a bone shield on the surface of the body. At the same time, he moved his feet and quickly dodged. Then he repeated the trick and activated the pupil technique Xiaoming Biguna to shrink himself. Although Ching Si had done his best to deal with the situation, one of the rosary light cannons whizzed past the outside of Ching Si's thigh before Ching Si could shrink himself. The bone shield formed by the corpse bone veins covering the outside of Ching Si's thigh was instantly melted. King Si was terrified. He was just a little bit away from being hit. It seemed that before finding a way to deal with the Seeking Truth Jade, he could no longer engage in close combat with Otsutsuki Haze Hiki. However, at this time, Otsutsuki Haze Hiki had already seen through the secret of Shoname Biguna, and with his Rinnegan activated at full power, he clearly observed the entire process of CG shrinking himself. Therefore, he decisively interrupted the attack of the Rosary Light Cannon, summoned back the truth-seeking jades, then put his hands together, and the Samsara I Chakra burst out. With him as the center, a huge green whirlwind formed, as if connecting the sky and the earth. The whirlwind quickly spread to King Si's position, mixed with countless sharp wind blades, constantly cutting towards the shrinking King Si. Kyoshi's face looked very bad. The Samsara I Chakra mode was indeed a bit beyond the scope at the moment. The eye technique Shomei by Kona could shrink and restore freely, although it was very powerful and buggy, but it was not omnipotent. Otsutsuki Haze Hiki was worthy of his status as the Great Elder. He only used it twice in front of him, and he quickly found a way to deal with it. Not only that, his way of dealing with it could also pose a threat to Kyoshi. Fortunately, Otsutsuki Haze Hiki is getting closer and closer to death, and now all he has to do is try his best to delay it. The storm grew larger and larger, suppressing King Si and making it difficult for him to move. King Si was forced to restore his body to its original size, and the bones in his body continued to flow out to the surface, constantly strengthening his body's defenses to resist the violent green storm raised by Otsutsuki Hirashiki. Suddenly, Otsutsuki Haze Hiki appeared in front of Kyoshi, pushed out a palm, and hit Kyoshi hard. 8 trigrams mountain destroying palm. Kyoshi tried his best to dodge, but Otsutsuki Haze Hiki perfectly seized the fleeting period of stiffness when Xiaoming Biguna was recovering his body shape, and hit Kyoshi's chest heavily with the mountain-destroying palm, making a dull sound. Ching Si's body shook violently, blood spurted out of his mouth, and he flew backwards and fell heavily to the ground. Although he had the defense of the corpse bone vein, Ching Si was still seriously injured. Otsutsuki Haze Hiki took advantage of the victory and pursued. He didn't want to give Kyoshi any more chances. A huge amount of Rinnegan Chakra was extracted in an instant, and under the precise control of Otsutsuki Hishi, it was accurately and evenly covered on all the truth-seeking balls, and a heart-pounding breath suddenly spread out. Under the control of Otsutsuki Hirashiki, the truth-seeking jade was spinning at high speed and gradually became one. At the same time, it was covered with a layer of emerald green light again, as crystal clear as jade. Moreover, a layer of silver halo appeared outside the truth-seeking jade covered with green light. Then, a huge tornado pressure was rapidly emitted from the silver halo. Silver wheel reincarnation explodes. A silver light flashed across the sky in an instant, and wherever it passed, the space seemed to be constantly twisting and shattering. Takamagahara. King C struggled to support his body, gathered his pupil power in his right eye, and quickly activated his pupil technique, moving to the location of the Okashura that he released before the battle began. By the way, he also took all the Okashura back to the Takamagahara space. Endless silver light burst out, a violent mushroom cloud rose up in an instant, and everything around was destroyed. The powerful attack not only penetrated the castle, but also penetrated the artificial sun and affected the outside. Trees fell sideways, and a huge deep pit appeared on the ground, as if the earth was torn apart. Peeking out from this deep pit, you can see endless darkness, that is the universe. However, in this darkness, there is a blue celestial body floating quietly. It shines with blue light, like the brightest pearl in the night sky. This beautiful planet is the planet where the ninja realm is located. Hey! 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 Ching Si gasped for breath, looks like I have to fight for my life. The attack from Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki was too powerful. King C finally came to his senses. It might not be enough to just delay time. The only thing he could do now was to fight him with all his might. King C's expression became solemn. Under the effect of the Otsutsuki bloodline, the injuries he had just suffered were recovering rapidly. King C stared at the Otsutsuki Heishi in mid-air, and began to slowly form seals with his hands. He had already made up his mind. Corpse vein burning blood technique. In an instant, the blood in King C's body began to boil, and a terrifying aura burst out from him. His momentum rose sharply and he soon approached Otsutsuki Hei's Hiki. As long as we can get the giant Rinnegan, the loss of Otsutsuki bloodline power can be made up quickly, so let's go all out. King C thought as he quickly formed seals with his hands. Wind release vacuum jade. Ching Si took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling violently, as if he was trying to suck all the air around him into his body. His eyes became sharp, as if he was gathering strength. With a low roar, he blew out a powerful airflow from his mouth, which quickly condensed into a huge compressed wind ball. This wind ball whizzed out like a cannonball, with unparalleled power, and shot towards Otsutsuki Hirashiki at an astonishing speed. Wherever the high-pressure wind cannon passed in the air, it left a white trail and made a sharp sound of breaking through the air. Otsutsuki Hirshiki's face was as calm as water. He raised his right hand calmly and aimed his palm at the incoming high-pressure wind cannon. His right hand emitted a faint green light, which was the light of the Samsara Eye Chakra. As the chakra surged, a green ball of light the size of a wash basin condensed in the palm of his right hand. The green chakra ball flew out slowly and leisurely, forming a sharp contrast with the high-pressure wind cannon that was whistling at high speed. The distance between the two was getting closer and closer, and the power of the wind cannon became more and more fierce as it continued to accelerate, while the chakra ball seemed inconspicuous and had no power at all. However, when the two met, there was no disturbance. The moment the chakra light ball touched the high-pressure wind cannon, it shone brightly, and a dazzling green light shone in the sky. At this moment, time seemed to freeze. The high-pressure wind cannon did not make any movement, as if it was grabbed by an invisible big hand and directly swallowed by the chakra light ball. The wind cannon disappeared without a trace, as if it had never existed. Otsutsuki Hirashiki's face remained expressionless, and a hint of disdain for Seiji's ninjutsu flashed in his eyes. His body moved quickly in the air, and then he gently pushed the chakra ball that had swallowed Seiji's wind escape ninjutsu. Give it back to you. The green chakra ball accelerated like a burning flame, and like a meteor streaking across the sky, it rushed towards King C's position. It carried great power and speed, as if it was going to break through all obstacles. King C looked at the chakra ball and dodged it hastily. The chakra ball hit King C's position, causing a huge explosion. The strong shock wave spread instantly. Although King C had moved a certain distance, he was still affected by the huge explosion. He rolled several times in the air before he finally managed to control his body. Is this the ability to absorb chakra that our ancestor Hamura talked about? King C's face became even worse. In close combat, he had basically no chance of winning with the truth-seeking orb. Long-range ninjutsu would be absorbed and he would be even more unable to fight. The ability of the Samsara Eye was really tricky. Chapter 180. The ninja world created by the Six Path Sage is a failure. Both the ninja world and you will be ended by me. This is Hamura's destiny. Otsutsuki Haze Hiki floated in the air and shouted at Seiji in a fanatical tone. Corpse bone vein 10-finger piercing bullet. Kingji did not say anything, but answered with actions. He aimed his hands at Otsutsuki Haishi in the air and fired countless bone bullets crazily. Otsutsuki Haze Hiki didn't care what Kingsi thought. Several truth-seeking jades quickly came in front of him and formed an indestructible black shield. Otsutsuki Hiroshiki held the shield formed by the Seeking Deo ball in front of him, and flew towards Kingsi at a rapid speed under the shooting of bone bullets. The bone bullets hit the shield, causing ripples, but no bone bullet could break through the shield's defense. In the blink of an eye, Otsutsuki Haze Hiki broke through the rain of bullets and came close to Kiyoshi. The truth-seeking ball turned into a black sphere again and, under the control of Otsutsuki Haze Hiki, rushed straight towards Kiyoshige's face. Just as the truth-seeking ball was about to hit Kiyoshige, suddenly, Otsutsuki Haze Hiki stopped moving. The truth-seeking ball, which was covered with black strip-like patterns all over its body, lost control and immediately flew backwards back to Otsutsuki Haishiki's side. Sealing technique, seal of self-karma binding. Kingsi kept making seals with his hands and quickly retreated. The sealing technique he got from the Uzumaki clan played a big role. When he was in close combat with Otsutsuki Haze Hiki just now, Kiyoshige's body collided with Otsutsuki Haishiki's and at the same time, he also injected the cursed seal into Otsutsuki Haishiki's body. And Otsutsuki Hiroshiki didn't know the sealing technique, so he didn't notice it at all. So, at this critical moment, Kiyoshi launched the sealing technique in time to restrain Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's actions. The seal of self-binding was not able to bind Otsutsuki Haze Hiki for too long. In less than 2 breaths, the black ribbon-like pattern on Otsutsuki Haishiki's body dissipated as if it was dissolving, and Otsutsuki Haze Hiki forcefully burst out with chakra to break free from the restraints. But this was enough. Kiyoshi had taken advantage of this short period of time to once again move dozens of meters away from Otsutsuki Hiroshiki. Otsutsuki Haze Hiki raised his eyebrows, used the repulsive force to push his body, and flew towards Kiyoshi again in the air. He could see that Kiyoshi was a little afraid of fighting him in close combat, but he just didn't do what Kiyoshi wanted. In a very short period of time, Otsutsuki Haze Hiki and Seiji kept colliding with each other, and every move and every style was full of calculations like a 1,000-layer pancake. Since Kiyoshi was afraid of Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's truth-seeking ball, and he couldn't get rid of Otsutsuki Hiroshiki's pursuit, he could only constantly use the eye technique Shayanabi-guna to evade and then take the opportunity to launch a counterattack. God have mercy on him, in just a dozen breaths, the number of times Kiyoshi used Shayanabi-guna has exceeded the total number of times he has used it since he awakened the pure eye. The continuous use of the eye technique also caused a few tears of blood to flow from Kiyoshi's pupils. The battlefield between the two kept moving, spreading from the side hall of the castle to the entire castle, then from the inside of the castle to the outside of the castle, and then moving outside along the gap created by the Silver Wheel Reincarnation's explosion in the artificial sun's barrier. Finally, the underground space where the Otsutsuki clan originally lived on the moon was exploded by another Ginza Samsara blast by Otsutsuki Haishi, which further expanded the deep pit created by the previous Ginza Samsara blast, and the battlefield of the two also came to the surface of the moon. On the surface of the moon, Otsutsuki Haishi, who was glowing green, was floating in the air, and he and Seiji, who was standing firmly on the ground of the moon, were looking at each other. Suddenly, both of them moved at the same time. Otsutsuki Haze Hiki simply made a seal with his hands and the stone statue of Hamura was summoned out again. This time, the battlefield became incomparably open, and he was dying anyway, so he completely sacrificed himself to the giant Rinnegan. Now, as long as the chakra of the giant Rinnegan was not exhausted, he could be said to possess endless chakra. Therefore, he did not need to worry about the consumption of chakra and could just do it. Kiyoshi placed his hands on his waist, constantly accumulating strength. The move he was about to use was the first one he had used since he got it from Otsutsuki Hamura. Although he was confident that he could succeed in one go with his talent, he was not very skilled after all. Therefore, he needed some time to accumulate strength. After fighting with Otsutsuki Haze Hiki for so many rounds, Kiyoshige has no way to deal with the opponent now. His ninjutsu will be absorbed, and most of his taijutsu can only be used at close range. The two long-range attacks, 10-finger piercing and early fern dance, cannot break the defense. So, now he can only try his luck and use the taijutsu he learned from Otsutsuki Hamura, which he originally didn't plan to use and had not yet fully mastered. Under the control of Otsutsuki Hirashiki, the Hamura stone statue shook slightly, and then rushed towards Seiji Ino, who was accumulating strength on the spot at a speed that seemed completely inconsistent with its huge size, bringing up a terrifying wave of air. Kiyoshi, who was mobilizing chakra to accumulate power, finally had time to take a good look at this huge stone statue, which had a face that was 70% similar to Otsutsuki Hamura, but with a slightly more ferocious look. With the powerful insight of the pure eye, he could clearly see that there was something like a core inside the statue, which constantly produced a special chakra fluctuation, and this fluctuation was constantly producing a strange resonance with Otsutsuki Haishi's Rinnegan, and this resonance was the reason why the Hamura statue could be continuously repaired. As long as the core was still there, the Rinnegan chakra was not exhausted and the practitioner did not give up voluntarily, the statue could not be completely destroyed. When the stone statue of Hamura rushed to within 100 meters of Kingsi had already completed the accumulation of power. The extremely huge chakra was controlled in the palm of his hand, and then gradually stabilized. Then, under Kingsi's control, all the chakra was released at once. God Air Attack! A translucent chakra fist emerged and then slammed towards the stone statue of Hamura. As Kingsi expected, he successfully performed the powerful physical technique of Shenkong-ji. Although it took a long time to charge up, it was indeed a great success. The divine air strike hit the chest of the Hamura statue head-on, and with a loud bang, a huge hole was torn open in the chest of the Hamura statue. However, soon, under the unlimited chakra supply of Otsutsuki Hirashiki, the Hamura statue was quickly repaired. Kiyoshi's expression changed slightly as he watched the speed at which the stone statue of Hamura was repaired. Although he had learned from Otsutsuki Hamura that the stone statue could be repaired through chakra, the stone statue had not shown this feature when Otsutsuki Hiki summoned it twice before, so Kiyoshi didn't expect the stone statue to be repaired so quickly. When Kingsi launched the second divine aerial attack, the huge stone statue of Hamura was almost in front of Kingsi. Kingsi had no choice but to dodge. Boom! The Hamura statue hit the ground with a heavy blow, causing thick smoke and dust. When the smoke and dust dissipated, Kingsi had disappeared from the spot, and when he reappeared, he had appeared at the shoulder of the Hamura statue. 8 trigrams, breaking the mountain. A chakra wave like a laser beam, with unparalleled speed and power, instantly penetrated the entire Hamura statue from the shoulder. This wave of air was like an extremely sharp blade, completely penetrating the Hamura statue, causing the Hamura statue to stop moving again. Kingsi flipped flexibly in the air, then landed gracefully. With his feet firmly on the ground, he pushed his palms forward with force. 8 trigrams empty wall palm. Powerful chakra gathered in the palm of his hand, and then 2 violent chakra shock waves, like surging waves, hit the stone statue of Hamura directly from the front, interrupting the restoration process of the stone statue of Hamura. Otsutsuki Hiki frowned, a look of annoyance showing on his face, because he could feel that his life was gradually slipping away, and now he could no longer hold on for too much longer. A fierce look appeared in Otsutsuki Haishi's reincarnation eye, and then he took a deep breath and extracted a large amount of chakra again. The truth-seeking jade began to spin rapidly around his right hand, and the speed was getting faster and faster. The green light of the reincarnation eye chakra gradually changed during the rotation, from green to dazzling gold. When the rotation reached its extreme, the Tao-seeking jades gathered together, almost becoming one, presenting a strange shape, as if it was composed of several small Tao-seeking jades. Afterwards, the shape of the almost integrated Dao-seeking jade began to stretch, and its length continued to extend, eventually gradually evolving into a lightsaber that shone with golden light. The horrifying aura fluctuations continued to spread around, and as the dazzling gold became more and more dazzling, Otsutsuki Haishi's aura began to drop rapidly. This move was not originally something that could be used by him, who had not awakened his own Rinnegan, but only borrowed the power of the giant Rinnegan. Forcibly using this move would have too much of an impact on him, further dramatically reducing his already limited time. But Otsutsuki Hiki was about to die, so he didn't care whether he died quickly or slowly. As long as he could take Kiyoshi with him before he died, who was destined to hinder their branch family from implementing Hamura's will, it would be fine. Otsutsuki Hiki grabbed the golden lightsaber, and then, without any hesitation, swung it hard at Seiji. The huge lightsaber slashed straight towards Ching Si. Evil little brat of the main family. Go to hell. Otsutsuki Hayes Hiki roared. He subconsciously ignored the corpse bone vein ability that Kyoji had used. Until now, he still thought that Kyoji was a remnant of the main family of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion. The sharp sword energy whizzed out, and an extremely dazzling golden light, with endless power, slashed towards Ching Si. Feeling this unrivaled power, King Si's heart became heavier and heavier, and at the same time, he kept thinking of countermeasures in his mind. He knew that this was a real life and death attack from Otsutsuki Hayes Hiki. The surrounding space has become very unstable under the continuous and high-intensity attacks of Otsutsuki Terashiki. If the eye technique Takamagihara is used, the uncertainty is too great and it is easy to be shattered by the distorted and broken space, or get lost in the turbulence of space. As for the eye technique Xiaoming Biguna, it has no effect on the current situation. It can shrink and restore itself at will. This ability seems very powerful, especially in close combat, but King Si does not have the ability to fight against the truth-seeking ball now. He dare not fight with Otsutsuki in close combat. Facing the Golden Wheel Tensei explosion with a very wide attack range and strong attack power, even if King Si shrinks himself, he cannot escape the fate of being hit by the Golden Wheel Tensei explosion. Many thoughts flashed through King Si's mind like shooting stars, and all of this happened in an instant. He thought about the response strategy, as if he had spent a long time, but in fact, it was just a blink of an eye. In the end, King Si decided to empty his mind and leave it entirely to his body's instincts to defend himself. King Si stretched out his finger and gently touched the blood at the corner of his mouth, then smeared the bright red on his palm. After quickly forming seals with his hands, he slapped the ground hard. The art of spiritual communication. Uncle Wu is here to repair the door. 5 huge black shadows rose from the ground and stood on the ground of the moon like pillars supporting the sky. At the same time, King Si's ability of the corpse bone vein was also brought to its fullest. The chakra in his body continued to flow out, and the hard white bones continued to cover the 5 spiritual Rashomon doors engraved with mysterious runes and evil spirit patterns. At the same time, Kyoji also activated the eye technique Takamagahara. After the great box heaven appeared, it was piled up one by one under Kyoji's control, and stood behind Rashomon, forming the 6th gate. In King Si's idea, Rashomon is only used to slightly weaken the power of the attack, or slightly change the trajectory of the attack. The one that really plays a defensive role is Daishaden, which is also a yin-yang escape creature. No matter what, Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion is also an attack evolved from the Tao-seeking Jade, and only yin-yang escape can possibly fight against the Tao-seeking Jade. At the moment when the attack hit the defense, a terrible wave of air swept out like a storm, and its momentum was like a volcanic eruption, surging and unstoppable. This overwhelming momentum was like a raging sea, rushing in, bringing with it endless pressure and power. The 5 Rashomon gates covered with white bones were cut open in an instant. The surging impact force continued to spread around, and everything around was drawn into it, forming a thrilling storm. In the end, the result was just as King Ji had expected. After Rashomon slightly consumed some of the power of Golden Wheel Tensei Explosion, the yin-yang release creation Oakata left by Otsutsuki Ishiki finally succeeded in blocking the attack of Golden Wheel Tensei Explosion.